All right, let's see where we're at here. You guys hear me okay? I think you guys should. Transition over here. You guys should be able to hear me. You should be able to see me. You should be able to kind of see that we're just hanging out on a Friday here. Not working too hard. Make sure YouTube's up. Looks like YouTube's doing some stuff, so that's good. And I got some stuff to test today, so I don't know if anybody wants to help me test it out. But, yeah, where are we at here? I am working on some Linux. If we want to talk shop in the Linux world, we can. Over on the right side of my screen, you guys will see a couple of windows, and they're just kind of informing us what's going on with our LLM box. So we've got a box called LLM, and he is going to be doing some thinking for us today, and we can ask questions to him. So if you have anything you want to ask, it just looks like, let me see if I can figure this out here and make this look good. You would just use ask. Actually, you know what? Let's set up a little Nightbot. Well, I guess we can do it right here. There we go. There you go. If you guys want to use ask, that's how you use it. You just use exclamation mark ask, and then you ask it a question. It'll talk to us, so probably creep us out for a little bit until I figure out what's going on with it, but I think I have the voice at least set right. So if you guys want to hang out and work on some Linux, we'll do that. And maybe I'll put this like this for a little bit. And we can put our notes down at the bottom of this. Where's our little notepad at? That'd be good. Throw our notes down here. That'll be acceptable. We'll go through over here. We were working on these the other night. Where are we at? Stream job skills. Yeah, so we were looking at different job skills and stuff. So one of the ones that we had gotten to was implement and maintain security measures to protect Linux systems from unauthorized access, malware, and other security threats. So, give me 1 second real quick here. Yeah, we had the build new. We could build stuff out. We can also maintain stuff. We looked at some of the ways that we can maintain servers that are already built out in our environment. You can kind of look at that. Oh, nice. Hinem, yeah. Did I leave the Socrates stuff up? I thought I had taken that off of there. I do think the Socratic method is really good. I do think that's a really good way to learn things in general. Here's a fun one. I'll show you guys. Let's see.
Asks, what is the Socratic method?
What is the Socratic method, in fact? And then it pops up over here. There's our little question. What is the Socratic method? You can see it chewing up through our LLM up here. This is the CPU going real high as it is shooting up on the amount of memory used and the CPU usage as it churns through that little question to try to figure stuff out. Developed in Athens. Yes, yes. Fair enough. Yes. All right, that should be done. And then it says down here, this is what the Socratic method is. Now, hopefully you guys can read all that. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. But yeah, Socratic method is a philosophical teaching technique that emphasizes understanding the differences between different perspectives or viewpoints and developing common ground. Now, that is a way that people use it for philosophical and like law and discussions of morality and stuff. We are trying to do discrete engineering tasks, right? Actually, so the model that I'm using, less than T, I can show you. Let me go pop over to Hostbox. So it's this is how we're actually doing this. The model is Qwen 2.5, and it's a really small model. We are running it on my local hardware, so I don't really have GPUs in that. I am planning on somewhere around March or April when they sell those digit devices. They're going to be about $3,000. And I told the wife, I'm like, all right, I won't spend anything else on the ProLug, and that'll be what we use for the professional Linux users group. Yeah, I'm using it as a CPU right now. And you know what? That's why we're watching it. We're seeing how well it does over here. By the way, you guys can ask any question you want. You just have to !ask before, and it'll hit this coder. Yeah, we'll go to bigger models when we have GPUs. I have GPUs in the home environment here, just not in my labs, right? My lab systems they're kind of dated. They're slightly getting older. Look here, you can see the llama box. So that's what my question did to it. Here's the response over here. If anybody was like, "Oh, hey, can I get that information out?" Yeah. So it's our own one. We're using this Quen coder. We're kind of keeping an eye on it. We're seeing like what the process is doing, and we're seeing how much I/O it's using. We could start tracking with Zeek and seeing, hey, why is it talking out? Is it going out to Russia, or is it back to? I believe this one. I was reading up on this one. I believe this one was actually.
Hinton asks, what is LLM?
There you go. So it asks what's LLM. That question should pop up right here in the top, and then it should walk through the idea of what's a large language model. Now, yeah, there it goes. Long-term memory, short-term memory. It's an artificial intelligence model that uses long-term memory to process and generate text based on its input. Now, we can break this thing, and also I think users can only, like any one individual user can only ask every minute or every few minutes. I can tune that. I could do a TTS for the answer. The problem is, here's the problem. The reason I didn't do that is the LLM, it was a lot of text to speech. We could have it do text to speech out for the answers. It's just some of these would get really long. So maybe I can limit the answers down and then do it that way. Yeah, I have thought about, I mean, I have the capability of taking the TTS. Where's it at? Here's that's the, is that, wait a minute. So it did go there and it did write there, but I'm pretty sure llama answer should have, am I wiping it? No. Huh. I didn't think I was. Stands for. Well, I'm not sure exactly what's going on there then, because I'm pretty sure I had been keeping all of the values in there. Maybe I'd wiped them earlier when I was working on something. Let's see. I don't see myself wiping it. I see myself running the prompt, dropping in the response. I see the question. Cat watch. Yeah, okay. Well, llama answer. Yeah, well, oh well. Yeah, Hinnon, normally what I do when we do the Socratic method, I pull this up here, which is just a simple little, can you set a process to run every 5 minutes on a server, right? So can you set a process to run every 5 minutes on a server? And up here, then we would go on to one of our boxes here and we would set that process. However, this one, I don't believe, had cron on it. So DNF install cron. Well, I don't know exactly why my nodes are behaving like this. They are. Let's look at something real quick. Let's check uptime here. We're going to go hit all the nodes real quick and see what's going on. I think that may work, that ask, but it might also, let's see. I don't know if there's a lock. I don't know if there's a size limit. I'm curious to see if that one works. Let me do it because I think there may be a 5 minute. Let me go ask. Also, I want to ask in the other one. Whoops. Hold on, Hannon. I'm going to copy that. I'm curious.
Head_Tanis asked 4 clowns were getting ready for the evening's performance. The clothes trunk each clown had to get their socks and shoes. There was 1 pair of each shoes and socks in each color. The red socks went with the blue shoes. Baba had yellow shoes, but not yellow socks. The clown with green shoes didn't have blue socks. Baba had neither red shoes nor red socks. Bilbo's shoes were the same color as Babel's socks. The clown with red shoes had green socks. Can you tell who had which color shoes and sock?
That's interesting. Took a little while to read. Oh, let me go check. Let's see what my actual timeout is set at on this. I want to say it's here. And then the commands come from a user. Let's see. From any person. And the user cooldown's 300 seconds. I guess I can set that. Let's set that to like 120. So that's 2 minutes. So people can ask questions every 2 minutes. And it looks like it, green, yellow, red. From this information, we see that Clown A has blue socks and red shoes. Clown B has brown socks and green shoes. Clown C has red socks and green shoes. Clown D has yellow socks and black shoes. The colors of the clowns are clearly listed. I don't know if that's right, Hinnon. I wonder, I mean, it put in, obviously, clown A, B, C, and D. That was probably a way for it to simplify names. But let's see. Was yellow and blue together? Yellow and black. Yellow and blue. Red and green, brown and green, blue and red. Blue and red and green look right. I'll have to defer to you guys on that to figure that one out. Hold on, why are my nodes all jacked up here? Which nodes? We can't get to Rocky 10 because we did something terrible to it. Let's go to like Rocky 8. Alright. We install cron on here. See what cron is in Rocky. Cronny, huh? I've never seen it that way. I've seen cron tabs. Let's try cronny. Let's see what happens when we install cronny here. Yep, it'll put cron tabs on it. And then, if that works, we should be able to see cron tab there. Yep, and then there's our cron tab, and then we can turn things on. Yeah, Hinnon, yeah. I mean, this isn't a perfect one, and we're using one that I picked. So, of the Quen models, there are much bigger and more CPU and GPU intensive. I chose kind of a smaller model for this. But yeah, people can ask questions either on Twitch or YouTube if you guys want to try. All you gotta do is an exclamation mark ask, and then just ask me whatever the question is. Ask whatever the question is, and we'll just see it over here on the system. Now, again, we could set it up so that it outputs the answer from the LLM. I just didn't do that. Also, I don't know why. It's a little weird. I'm seeing we should get the question like here, like what is LLM? We should get that, and then we should get, in this case, we should have gotten whatever the, oh, it's getting an error. Yeah, that shouldn't have had. Oh, maybe there's a length thing. It's probably there's probably some kind of length thing in there. That still shouldn't have done that. All right. Anyways, cron tab -E, and I was showing you guys this last night or yesterday, whenever we were last on. Asterisk, 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 asterisk will be all times, and then you could run some command. But if you want to do, as we're asking here, every 5 minutes, you would do that divided by 5. So it'd be everything divided by 5, and then we would be able. Oh. I don't think English can handle that. But that did come through. And then there's the response. I don't know what those characters are. You can go throw them in Google and figure it out, I guess, but those did not come out to much use for anybody. I don't think. So could we set a process to run every 5 minutes? Yes. All right, what's the next one? If we were still just kind of configuring and continuing on this, what is a user's home directory and what is root's home directory? Do we know where that is on a Linux box? I see. Yeah, I could see that being one of those things where it does accept other character sets and it does accept other types of information. In fact, this one is specifically designed for coding. So if you were to send in like a coding question and say, hey, could you build me like some bash for loop or something, it would do it for you. Atticus, I don't know if you're telling me hi or somebody else, but hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I'm curious if this will work for CyberShell. Let's see. Oh man. Well, there is a short little timeout, but I don't think CyberShell should have hit it on the YouTube side. Hold on, real quick here. Let me see. I should be able to go see like an action queue and see that question. Oh no, the last one that came in was from Hinnen. So let me make sure that the command, if we edit it, it can come in from YouTube or Twitch messages, and it should just be ask at the start. And there is a user cooldown and a global cooldown, but oh yeah, Atticus, but my name's Scott. There's Twitch whispers. I don't need any of that stuff. Permissions include ask mode basic. Yeah, that should all be fine. CyberShell, I'm gonna ask that again over here because that should have come through. I'm kind of curious why it didn't. That's fine, Atticus. We're just trying to figure out why. I don't know why this is not coming through on the. That's fine. That's on the other bot. That's the bot that actually does the communication with Polly. These are not grouped. We're not blocking anything. We got global cooldown of 60 seconds and a user cooldown of 120. Subscribers, VIPs. So we're not blocking anything. We don't have anything from the YouTube side that should be stopping that. It's just that did not come through. Neither of those came through. Neither mine nor the other one. No, here's the one from... Nope, that's still... Hidden. Yeah, so that neither of ours have come through now. So I actually wonder if there's something going on there. This is the command that kicks it off. It is enabled. Should be on both Twitch and YouTube. I should be able to see both of the chats here. Ah, well, actually, hold on a second here. That's something interesting. Hold on. There's something wrong here. Hold on. What the hell's going on here? Give me a second. So my chat is not. My chat for YouTube is not working right now. I don't know why, but I'm gonna go find out. So I was on. I need to see if there is a way to resync because for some reason my my YouTube is not synced. So let's go see integrations. YouTube? Is that the YouTube one? I mean, I wouldn't think that would need to be. I think it would be under platform and then YouTube. Huh. Maybe I don't, yeah, I don't see anything connected. So hold on, let me see if I can re-sign in. And then that one says it's connected. Let me see. There we go. Yeah, sorry, you guys should be able to send them now from the, if anybody wants to try over on YouTube with a little ask. All right, so it said home directory. So what's the home directory? Root's home directory. You can find it by, as my user, I can do env grep-i home. There it is. I can also do a print env. And that would also show me home. Any user, so if I were to just, if I were to grep some user from Etsy pass WD, I should see their home directory in the 6th field. And then if I were like to ls-ld on like home Scott or something, I would be able to see, oh, well, he doesn't exist. I would be able to see that it's owned by whatever user. Let me see. Let's see.
Head_Tanis asks, do you know how inodes work?
How do inodes work? Can this bot tell us a little bit about inodes here? Do you know how inodes work? There we go. There's the question over here. And then it'll tell us that. All right. Can you show us all the aliases that a user has available? So we are the root user. And if I do alias, I can see all my aliases. Can I set those aliases or wipe those aliases? Yeah, I should be able to do that. Also, on one of your streams, I was asking what people can get off you opening a malware link, like you receive the link somewhere, you open it and enter nothing. Close the tab. What information could leak except outside IP address provider info? If you don't mind answering, of course. Hinton, I mean, I guess it depends. Like, I would tell people don't ever click on anything, right? Just immediately report it, I think. But other than that, I would maybe say try. Hold on, real quick. Gotta get back to this other thing real quick. That was Zotero. Cybershell, your question was asked, but I wonder if it was in the global timeout, or I don't know. There's our iNodes stuff. So if you guys need help with iNodes, there you go. Cybershell, can I get you to try that one more time, but in about 20 seconds? Because I think we were just in the global timeout. I have a global timeout of a minute, and I don't know. Maybe it was just inside that time I don't know. I mean, I think I also have a timeout. But can we see the aliases available for user? Yes. Can we find out where aliases were set? Also, yes. We can grep for alias from anywhere in, let's say, root dot anything. And there's where some of these aliases were created, was inside of our root bash rc. And then where some of those other ones are going to come from is probably going to be Etsy. And then in Etsy, probably bash.
CyberShellTech asks, how would you recommend learning Rocky Linux and not die trying? There is documentation on their website. What else do you think?
Did you grep alias from that? No such file or directory. And I would maybe even say Etsy profile. And this is also where aliases are going to be coming in from. So that's where a lot of these aliases were getting set up in our system. So, I mean, yeah, could you show all the aliases a user has available? Yeah. Boom, there you go. It says, learning Rocky Linux can be a rewarding experience for both beginners and experienced users. Here are some additional tips to help you get started. Choose the right distribution. I think that's very important. If possible, consider using an officially supported distribution like CentOS or Fedora. Well, that's interesting because CentOS isn't officially, this is dated info apparently. These distributions have better support and features. Yeah, I wouldn't use either of those in the professional sense. It would provide, yeah, I mean, I would use, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Rocky you can use actually professionally because it is backed by CIQ. So you could, do that if you needed to. Hey, Dual Dead, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are not working too hard on a Friday. Just kind of hanging out like we normally do. And I was thinking of doing like a little bit of a co-working stream, but I'm just kind of doing a little Socratic Linux still down here and letting you guys see the LLM up here as you guys ask it questions. So you guys can ask it questions if you want. You just do a !ask. Okay, so can you show all the aliases? Yes. And then this one says, can you create or remove an alias? So could I say like alias? So can I do like echo roar, right? And that'll roar to the screen. And then I say alias dino, whoops, equals equals echo, something like that, right? And then now if I do an alias, they're alphabetical order, so I should see that. If I type in dino, it should do the execution of that command right there, which is echo rar or whatever. Or, you could be silly with it if you want. You could do like rar and then like, I don't know, backtick date or something like that. And then now when you run dino, it'll give you the date right now. That's the date and time of the system right now with rar on the front. I don't know. Like people alias all kinds of things that they want aliased in their system. And I'm not going to tell you guys kind of like what that might be, but there's a bunch of things that you could do. Phoenix, how's it going? Enzo Bear, how's it going? We're just hanging out on a Friday. I'll probably turn my camera on here in a minute. I am more of a Android guy. I don't really use that. Oh, that's just Dino in my shell. You guys got to use !ask if you want to do that. But no, I got the question. I've always been more of an Android guy. I haven't done the old iPhone stuff. I mean, I don't think it's going to do much with that. It says, I apologize. I don't understand what you're asking about. Could you please provide more context or clarify your question? It might be better to assist you. Now, remember, this model we're using is designed for like coding questions. But, we're just hanging out. So ask Dino. Oh, and that Dino the Soar, who is his wife? Oh, that's and you also have, I think, a 2-minute user cooldown on it. So somebody else will have to ask that for you, Hinan. That's kind of funny, though. Can you create or remove an alias? We created one right there. And then we can alias at any time, and we can say unalias. And why would we want to unalias RM as an admin? Does anybody know why? Like, why does it always ask you as a Linux engineer when you're root, are you sure you want to do something? Hell yeah, I'm sure I want to do it. because alias is always set to interactive removal. So if you're going to remove a file, it's always rm-i, which is interactive, meaning it's going to ask you a question. Cybertruck, it doesn't even look like that worked. So maybe, I don't know, was that within a minute? I guess my time, it's kind of weird. Time is weird when you're streaming. Like, I don't know if that was a minute, but I know there's a minute cooldown. So if you, Cybershell over on YouTube, had asked within a minute of Hinnon over on the Twitch side, there is a 1 minute cooldown. So you might have to wait a little bit and then you can ask it. I can also ask things directly to it if we wanted to, but then just pops up. We're using Loki over here. The tool for this is Loki. We use it for all of our log stuff. Yeah, give it a few and then try again.
Cybershell Tech asks, okay, Google, call Mom.
It's pretty funny. I wonder if that'll go for people all around. Said, sure, I'm just an AI language model. I don't have capability to call Mom directly. However, you're asking for information or assistance, I can help you with that. So remember, this is not hooked up. I have this thing pretty, I wouldn't call this quite air-gapped, but this is pretty off the network. It can talk out a little, but it can't talk out in like any kind of way that would be useful for anybody. Plus, it's not connected to any of my accounts either. So could we create or remove an alias? Yes. And now we no longer see the RM alias in here. Now, if you get scared and you're like, oh no, I've lost it. Well, if you just exit and go back in, your system will reread all of its things and its aliases will come back. You'll get the ones back that you deleted and you'll lose the ones that you didn't set permanent. So in our case, Dino was right in here because they're always alphabetical order. So Dino is gone and now RM is back protected under the system. Someone did a conference and it did work for some people. Oh, I'm sure it would. Yeah, I had a buddy who anytime you started to say, okay, Google, he would just shout awkward things so that it would always be in your Google history. And the awkward things were like horse words. So I'm not going to say what the horse thing was that he wanted you to look up, but suffice it to say, if Google catches you looking that stuff up, it gets real weird. But anyways, okay, Phoenix. Just build a simple CLI client for Google Gemini Flash through the Golang API, and this is using Olama via Pi. Phoenix, are you saying you just built a simple little CLI for Google Gemini? Yeah. No, what I'm using, I could draw out the workflow for you guys if you kind of are curious. I'll draw out the workflow on this in a second. Let me get some water real quick.
Shunya asks, is streaming good for health?
Let's see. We'll see. Here's the request going through the CPU. You see it chugging along here. You see the old llama up here doing whatever. It's putting the CPU up to, there's 32 CPU cores, and they're going up to 85 because, again, we're not running GPU. Oh, all right. There you go. You guys can read that. I'll be right back. Give me a second here. Surprised I didn't get any asks while I was gone. Alright, let me grab some water here real quick. got my fridge right up here. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, Phoenix, I'll draw this out for you guys. Hold on. So this is the... Hold on. This is the workflow right here. So we've got... This is our collaboration from the other day, right? If you guys aren't familiar, I was pulling this up on stream the other day. So let's clear the whole camp. Ooh, give me a second. Go back to dark mode. All right. So let's switch our drawing here to... because we got to invert it, right? All right. So there we go. And then on our stroke, we want that to be skinny. There we go. All right. So to answer your question, because this is kind of what the question was here. Over on, yeah, sorry about that, Enzo Bear, the flashbang. The question was...
Joey's Bites asks, what is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything?
You didn't have to ask me that. It's the number 42. All right, but what was the question here? Hold on real quick. Yeah, the answer for that's definitely 42. Yeah, Phoenix, so you wanted to know the workflow. So the workflow looks like this on the system. So I am running over here a box called, this is just some server, Llama. So there's Llama. And he is running a Ollama inside of him. And he can be asked questions by a node or whatever. So what's happening here is I've got StreamerBot. So this is StreamerBot. And he is listening to anything that is !ask from you guys. Ask. And then technically he's generating over here a message. Right, so he's making a little message. And then that message is getting put via Samba. There's a Samba connection into a server called Hostbox. So Hostbox has some file system, and he's running over here. He's running a little software, a little stuff called iNotify, which is a Linux tool that will watch things happen. And anytime there's a change to this file, right? Anytime there's a change to the file, that triggers a question over to the Ollama. And then Ollama, when it's done, that trigger writes out output, right? And that output goes over here to this box, which is Loki, and Loki is over here, and we're listening to it. Now, in here, as you guys are actually asking the question from StreamerBot, that is sending over a message. This is like a separate workflow, and that's going to SpeakerBot. And SpeakerBot is the one that's reading out whatever you guys say, ask, right? So this is kind of like my little workflow, kind of the way that I drew it out. I could make that a lot better, obviously, looking. But yeah, when somebody comes in and asks a message, and either over here on the so the way it looks, if you guys want to see it here, is here's SpeakerBot. SpeakerBot has an alias for Steven through Amazon Poly, so that's always going to use Amazon Poly, right? And then that gets configured here in StreamerBot. StreamerBot's a little bright too. And StreamerBot has these commands. And this command is connected to both my Twitch and my YouTube. And when you say ask anything, it generates a message, right? And the way that message works, if we come over here to the queues and look at the action history, here was the most recent completed action, and I can see the variables. Here's the thing. I can see the variables at the beginning.
X-Shunya asks it's quite impressive share, more smile.
Well, that's cool, but that's going to just come over here and not, it's not going to know. Thank you. I'm glad to hear your review was positive. If you have any other questions or need further assistance with anything, feel free to ask. That's funny. So that's the bot responding over here, or our LLM responding, right? So over here, real quick, we can inspect the variables when it was queued up, and somebody said ask, and then they said down here, it's quite impressive, share more. That was the question. And then this is what happened as it was triggered. We can see it came from Ekshunya. But I can also check, this is where it's also important, the variables after the run was completed. So when this thing finished running, there's more variables down here that I could use for maybe different reasons. And I was working with some of these before to reread these out after I was done. And the way I kind of backed off of that a little bit, because down here in the actions, it got kind of messy. Here's the integration over to the speaker bot. You just use the voice alias and say user asks, and then you give the raw input, and it will actually strip off the ask portion of the command for you, which is kind of nice. I could have also stripped that off, that you can interact with the variables if you want or whatever, but okay, there we go. All right, so could we remove or create an alias? Yes, we could. How about this next one? Can you tell me if a user has a password set? So if I say, where's my actual this? Can we tell, as we're doing this, can we tell if a user has a password set? Yep, you can use grep Scott from Etsy Shadow if Scott is on your system, like I have. Now, I also have Scott 2. Neither of those are there. But also we can do chage-l Scott and see if the password was set. We can see when it needs to change. We can see a whole bunch of things with chage. So that's kind of a useful little set of commands, as well as to know your ch age. So it's like change age. So can you tell if a user has a password set? This password's never been changed, so no. So Code Reader 2020, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Yeah, grep username from Etsy Shadow would also be an acceptable one, yes. Except in this case, I don't have that. Now, I'm going to show you guys something here. You normally never would share this ever anywhere. Like, I'm not worried about it because it's just a clustered node. But right here, we have all the information. If anybody wanted to capture this screen right here, you have all the information right here to crack this password. And you say, well, what do you mean? Well, you can tell right here between these two dollar signs. The dollar signs are the field delimiters on this one, by the way. But right here tells me that it is the SHA-256, right? And then here is the salt of it. That's the salt right here. And then here's the actual password hash. So between, well, all the way to here. So between that, sorry, here's the password. So yeah, so here's the salt right here, all the way to that next dollar sign. Right there. And then here's the password hash right here. So you would normally not show this to people. If it was real, no, it used to be MD5, but they don't use that anymore. Should be SHA-256 now. SHA-1 is deprecated. And then kind of go from there, yeah. Yeah, it should be. But, by the way, if we wanted to, we could use in yeah, let me see.
Cortanis asks, what does Rocky Linux use in /etc/shadow for hashing?
See if this thing that we have here does what we have it here for. Does it know the answer to the question? Because that's really what we want to know, right? The information should be pretty updated in that. Look, it's sitting up there. This is it, just chewing it up. It's like locks going through. It's like a ship going through a lock. If you've ever seen a lock in like a channel between the Great Lakes or something or somewhere. Password is generated security algorithm like bcrypt or Argon 2. Now, I don't know those too well, but now we need to know the Etsy Shadow for password And then does it tell us here, username secure pass, and then it tells us that it would be, yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, it doesn't give us the right answer, I don't think. Yeah, I'm using BTOP up here on top, Phoenix. I actually saw a picture of it the other day from, who was using it? Jeff Geerling was using it. Is that his name? He's the guy who does all the Ansible stuff, and he had something. Somebody liked something he had posted on LinkedIn. I was like, oh, that is pretty cool. I've never seen BTOP. I mean, like we'll use ATOP or HTOP sometimes, but I mean, I had never seen BTOP, so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I figured I'll just leave it here. And then what it's doing is this is a separate monitoring. So if any of you guys do use the ask, right? If you use the exclamation mark ask, then it would it'll show you basically how much work it's doing on my CPU for that box, right? And I think that's kind of fun. This box has 32 CPUs, so we can see them all spin up high. We can see the llama go high and how much memory it's using on the box. I think that's kind of fun. So, yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of, I think that's all good. All right. We know, so here's one. We checked the user password, and then could we create or remove an alias, and we did that. And then this one says, do you know where the default home directory files populate from?
Needs answer to all questions.
It's going to try to help you, but it might not have any. It says, sure, I'm here to help. Feel free to ask any questions you have. Yeah, Cyber, I'm pretty sure there is like a John, if you're talking John the Ripper, yeah, there's definitely a module to crack passwords of those types. There's also, what's some of those other ones that are common? But yeah, for the most part, you don't show this kind of stuff. We're in a cluster environment, and I don't even know in the cluster what the password is, because the password's irrelevant in my cluster. We use keys with the cluster keys, right? So, yeah. And then Xshunya, I think there's like a 2-minute. No, okay, so Atticus, that's a good, check it out. That is where users' home directories are, but do we know what populates the home directory? This is the question. Because here's the thing, right? When I create a user, if I just make some user, if I just say user add,
Atticus now asks, is it home/username?
So check it out. So stream, let's just say I make streambot1, right? And I just make this user. And then now I cd to home, streambot1. And then in here I do an ls-ld dot, and I see that, okay, he's streambot1. He's some user. But I want to show you guys something. If I do an ls-al in here, he's got all of these dot directories, or all these dot files. Do you guys see all these dot files in here? It's got a .bash logout, .bash profile, .bash rc. What I'm asking here is, do you know where those come from? And the reason as an engineer you want to know where these come from is because it is in Etsy. It is in Etsy. You're correct on that. But where I'm going with this is, you might want to change these. You might want to change what the default .bash rc is for a user. Now, there's other ways to do it, because you got to remember, when you change something here and then give it to a user, it belongs to the user. Yeah, it's Etsy Skell. That's exactly right. Etsy Skell, ls-al in here. And what I could do to check, right? Like this would be a way to check. I could just do a ck sum on, dot everything in here. Whoops. And I would see that. And then I could cd back to where I was, and I could do a ck sum on everything like that. And the bash logout would be 517.634.24, right? 517.634. So this is kind of like a checksum is like a poor man's hash. It's like, and when I say poor man, it's just cheap. It doesn't use much CPU on the processor. Does that kind of make sense? So, oh, by the way, guys, since I sometimes don't always look at chat, that ask command is there for you guys to kind of interrupt me. So if you do have questions that you want to ask about, just feel free to ask. Anyways, I talked about key authentication. How do you harden your Linux machines at home and at work? CyberShell, I have a bunch of ways that I harden systems. I actually have some drawings that I've shown you guys over the years. File open. There's a lot to it, but Where do I have that? Is it in? I don't think it's on Linux Systems Administration.
Adix asks, why do you use Windows as a host?
Because I use Linux professionally, and it doesn't matter how I get to the Linux. But this thing will answer that question for you, I guess. Yeah, I do follow a framework for hardening. I use STIG guidelines, STIG, which are the Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines. And then I also use, sometimes I use CIS benchmarks as well. So it kind of uses that. Look at this. AI module says, I don't have personal experiences or preferences like humans do. And then people use Windows as a host. Here's the thing, guys. And you know, I always say this when I'm talking to amateurs or people who are kind of like newer in the industry. And you know, hopefully that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. But I mean, if you are an amateur, you're an amateur, right? And I'm trying to show you guys how to be professionals. The goal is to get to a terminal, and then you have to be able to run stuff from your terminal. But how you get to that terminal is absolutely irrelevant. I don't care if you're on a Mac. I don't care if you're on your phone. I don't care if you're on a Windows box or a Linux box. People make far too much of like Linux as a desktop. And I can guarantee you right now, you can't show me any Fortune 500 company, not a single one, even Red Hat, that uses Linux on their desktop for most users. Not a single one. Even their engineers. So there you go. That's why I use Linux professionally, so it doesn't matter how I get there. I mean, I guess people would be happier if I was using a Mac or whatever, but it doesn't matter how I get there. So, all right, that's the answer to that question. That gets asked a lot, and I don't understand the hang up. But I mean, you know, I understand the hang up from like hobbyists and amateurs, but not from I don't get that from pros. So, anyways, not pros that have been around for a while, anyways. So, all right, so where do we populate the home directories from? Etsy-Skel. All right, what's our next question? Can you set a script that automatically runs on any user login? Do you guys know how you would set up something to run on any user login? Does anybody know that? I'm just on this streamer bot. Let's CD back to home, right? Roots home. And then we will go ahead and user del streamer bot 1. He didn't have a very long, whoops. Stream bot. He didn't have a very long run, did he? Now, when I did that, here's a good question too. Did that delete his home directory? So if I tried to CD back right now to the directory I was just in, does it still exist? Yes. But if I do an ID on StreamBot, he doesn't exist anymore. If I do an ls-ld on this directory, it's now some unknown user number that could be reused in the future. But why is that? Does anybody know why that behavior is like that? When we delete a user, why doesn't it delete their home directory too? Don't we want to always kick out their home directories when we delete our engineers out of the company? All right. ARM-RF home stream bot. There he goes. Now he's gone forever. Now he's gone. But we don't want to normally delete user accounts and stuff that's being done in the company. So there we go. All right. All right. Haven't seen anything over there for a while. All right. So can you set a script that automatically runs on any user login? Yeah. So remember I said earlier about the alias? And then maybe in our alias, we just want to do something like this. Maybe dyno equals echo rar. Right? And it's just something stupid like that. And now that alias, I want that to happen when anybody logs in on this box from now on. So I need to put it somewhere that's going to automatically run on any user login, right? So any user that comes onto the system, so maybe I SU up to S Champagne, he doesn't have that alias. Oh, he actually does have that alias because I put it in here long ago. I probably used this as an example somewhere before. But where do we put that on the machine so that we can find that? Does anybody know? So we go into Etsy profile.d, and there's all these profile things in here. And maybe if I grep alias out of here, It might give me some indication that, oh yeah, look, this is where people set a bunch of aliases for the users or for whatever things are happening in the environment. And you might say, well, how does etcprofile.d get called on your system, right? So you're just on a system, and you're here as the root user, and then you've got your bash rc that gets run, right? So maybe I look at my bash rc. Oops, don't want to source it. We'll go into our bash rc, and there we've got some aliases that are set. But look, I look and I say, if etc bash rc exists, then source bash rc. That's what this means, right? So let's go look at what's in there. So more etc bash rc, right? And now I start to look down through and I say, okay, it's doing some stuff. It's setting up our variable, that the ps1 variable is how you're going to behave at the command line, how you're going to see things. And then I come down here and I say, okay, it's doing some stuff. I'm going to go line by line so I don't miss it. And it's got some more customization, a bunch of stuff depending on what user you are, and a bunch of stuff like that. Hold on, keep coming down. Here's your path getting set up based on your user and some other things. And then some, if your UID is less than 199, meaning you're probably a system, then you get a certain UMask, else you get this other UMask, and that's going to depend on, you can, by the way, you can override this later, but that's what's going to come out default. Hold on, let's keep coming down here. Ah, look, for I in etcprofile.d, anything that's .sh, so if we name anything in there .sh, it's going to just loop over and source that file. That's what the dot space name of the file is. So it's looping over everything in etcprofile.d. Now, I'm the root user. If I wanted to, I could strip this out, this conditional if that file exists, and not execute my bash rc. I don't need to do that. And if I don't do this, then it's not going to do this, and I'm not going to get all of those setup things in the environment. Does that make sense? Hey, thanks for that, Gremlin. The resubscription helps keep me motivated. Also, I've been talking about with the professional Linux users group that we run. I've been telling you guys that I really want to get a hold of one of those digits when they come out in March or April. So I'll just pick one of those things up and buy it. But I told the wife, I'm like, well, technically streaming will pay for it after like 6 months or whatever. And she's like, whatever. She knows it's just another toy for my lab anyways. Oh, no, I didn't even realize I'm not even on video right now. Hold on. You guys probably hop on video for you guys. I don't know. Maybe that'll make people happy. But can we script something to automatically run on a user login? Sure. It would just be on this system, because we followed this path and we saw all these things happen, we would simply, we'd have to be root. You have to be root to do things to everybody. That kind of makes sense, right? Otherwise, you could just mess with other people in the system. And then etcprofile.d, and I could literally drop anything I wanted to in here that had a .sh on it, and it would be sourced by my bash shell, because my home.bashrc sources etc bashrc, which then loops over and hits all of those. Does that make sense? I mean, that's the path that we followed right there to see how that works. You want to turn any of that stuff off for the root user, you can do it. You want to set things in a user's environment when they first come up, you absolutely have the power to do it. Now, they are, as users, they still have power in their own environment to change things after, but you can set things up so that things possibly run and execute for users as they first join the system. Like, you want to set all their paths for them so you don't have to hear about it. You know, you want to make sure 90% of users are good, because look, some engineers are just going to go write all their own stuff anyways. That's fine. But some of your engineers are just along for the ride. They don't care about the Linux. They're just using it to get to their... This happens a lot with like researchers that I work with. They don't give a shit about if they're on Linux or if they're on Solaris or if they're on HPUX. They're just there for the ride. If they can get their MATLAB to open or their PyTorch or whatever crap they're using as their part of the workflow, they don't care what they're in. Does that make sense? So, you know, we're the Linux people. We're the ones that have to get this stuff working for you guys. So, all right. Can Linux do things like AD, like apply .aurora on a domain level or something behind the machine itself? Yeah, so CyberShell, you can do, you can have, there's a tool called NIS, and NIS can control a lot of things. What I would tell you nowadays, most of the time allow Active Directory or LDAP type, third-party trust typically is how we establish this stuff. We don't do a lot of that stuff on the Linux side of things. But your users can do a lot of stuff. But can we set like dyno equals rar on a domain level or something but beyond the machine itself? There are tools, CyberShell, that'll do that for you. Like there's a thing from Red Hat that's free called IDM. When I say free, if you're already using Red Hat, it doesn't cost you any more. But it's called Red Hat IDM, and it connects into any of your LDAP type services. So you don't have to use Active Directory. You could be using a tool like Keycloak, or you could be using Shibboleth, one of these authentication type, a way. It's a way to establish your authentication and authorization of users remotely through like tokens and what do they call them, Java Web Tokens, or some people call them JOTs. But I never got into calling JWT a JOT. I always thought that was a little weird. Here, you guys can ask. Here. There you go. What's a JOT? Let's see how it says it.
Head_Tanis asks, what is a JWT?
All right, let's see what it says here. I'm curious. I'm curious what it says. So what is the JWT? Java Web Token, right? But let's see what it talks about. All right. Can you check your current user? So you're some user. And then, so here's ID and who am I? And how do I see what my current, what my primary group and my secondary groups are? So I've got a group ID that's associated with my user as a primary, and then I have as many secondaries as I might own. And can I see what those are? That thing's chewing up for a while on this JWT. Look at that. Yeah, Smith over on Twitch said, found channel from YouTube, great material. Yeah, well, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We just kind of hang out and do a bunch of Linux, and then we have a Discord. I'm always telling you guys about the Discord. That is a free place to go hang out, and we actually have meetings in there tomorrow. Let's see what it looks like. We have one meeting tomorrow. What's going on in there? People are talking in there about stuff. We got about 3,400, almost 3,500 people in there. But the events coming up, we have...
Shunya asks, how is JWT different from SSH authentication methods under the hood?
That's a good question. So Prolog 16-week course, we're actually done with the 16-week course, but it's still up in the Discord. It's still free. And this will be our last meeting of it. And then I'll go ahead and cancel this out. And then we'll just start setting up more meetings for future stuff. By the way, what is JWT? As an AI language model, I don't have personal experience or preferences like humans do. However, it's common for people to use... Oh, wait, that's here's the JWT up here. So it's JSON Web Token. Yep, not Java. It's JSON Web Token, which is a compact encrypted format used to provide an identifier or token that can be used to authenticate and authorize access to resources. The authenticate, very important, who you are, who you say you are. Authorization is what are you allowed to access. Excuse me. Sometimes we call the processes we build with this, we call them token vending machines. That can be a common term. It's widely used method in web applications for session management, so we know who's talking to what. Python using libraries like Flask and PyJWT, you can use, for permissions and all that kind of good stuff. All right. And then there was another question about how is JWT different from SSH methods under the hood, and there it is. All right. Have several different distinct advantages and use cases, purpose, and scope. Yeah, JWT is primarily used to secure communication between two parties, such as an API gateway or a client-side application. And then SSH authentication is more like connecting to a system. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, I think that thing's kind of useful. I might do... We'll see what it looks like to maybe do a little bit of the, maybe let the bot tell us, because the bot could read this all back to us. I think the bot was hitting a limit at one point, but maybe that was just because of how I was setting it up. We could let that read it back to us. I just feel like that's going to take a while to read all that. So, And Steve, how's it going? We're not working too hard. It's Friday. Well, Friday for me, although I am going to be working some tonight and tomorrow, probably all through the weekend. And then, yeah, we're getting ready. We're doing like, so I'm building these high performance compute systems for a government customer, and we have 3 of them right now, and we're getting one of them into acceptance, and then we'll turn around and get the other 2 in as well. And then there's like an acceptance time where we, work things off and get stuff kind of going. And the government just kind of keeps track of what's going on, and we do a bunch of speed tests and that kind of stuff. But that's useful. I think it's useful. All right, so anyways, how do we know where our users' primary and secondary groups are? Well, we can look at grep root from etc past wd, and there is our default group for root right there, which is 0, and we see right there that it is group 0 as root. And then any other groups, by the way, that's his UID. There's his group ID right there. And then his groups are also only root. He doesn't have any other groups. And you would say, well, how would you know that? You could grep root from etc root. And then etc group would show root is not in any other, in other places there. So there we go, boom. Why would that be useful to know? Well, you have a user that you've just made, or the system has made it. It's come down through our, we try to stay out of identity and access management, IAM. I let identity and access management teams do identity and access management stuff. I just set my Linux boxes to trust whatever our corporate hierarchy is of like LDAP, right? Which is our lightweight directory authentication protocol. So I will have users being created by them and coming into my Linux boxes, and then I might end up having to go troubleshoot, well, oh no, this user doesn't have the right permissions, but then their group assignments tend to be filtered down through LDAP, so it's very possible the user wasn't put in the right group with the other users from his department or whatever, or he's new, so he doesn't have those permissions yet. So I say, well, somebody sends in a ticket to me, says, hey, my user can't get to this, and I say, well, you guys were the ones that set the rules where no, he doesn't have those permissions until he's been in the company for 2 weeks. So, and then they'll be like, well, can you just override it? And it's like, well, we can, but according to the security posture, we're not supposed to, so we'll have to get security involved. And a lot of times if you say like, oh, we got to get somebody else involved, then the teams will just back off. It's not that you're trying to be a hard ass, it's just you don't want to be hard setting values like that, where now forever this server will always give that person that permission. We could always do that, guys. It's just... it's a little dangerous. Like it's a little dangerous. Now I've got to remember I've done that on Rocky 8 for that user, and that just my notebook isn't that big, right? My notebook doesn't go back that far. I don't want to be writing stuff in my notes and trying to keep track of what different users are doing. So there's a lot of stuff here. Phoenix, this is one of the reasons I do this stuff, is I do this stuff to keep myself sharp. We talk through stuff, we work on stuff. That's what the group's good for. It kind of keeps you stoked up near the fire. You guys ever seen like a fire overnight? It just kind of slowly dies down and the embers get further and further away. And I really think as a systems admin, a systems engineer, you have to stay close to the technology. You got to keep your hands on the system. You got to keep practicing. So, but anyways, can we see what groups we're on? Yes. What's the next one? Can you check if the Ubuntu user exists? All right, well, I'm not on an Ubuntu box, so I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But ID Ubuntu, he doesn't exist. And then can I verify that the user John was never a user on this system? Well, that one's a little harder. We can do an ID for John. He's not on the system. But also, could I maybe verify that he's never logged in? He's never logged in the box that we can see. I can also grep John from anything var log, right? Maybe there's nothing in there that shows the user John. But aside from that, I can't tell you definitively for sure that he's never existed. Because if he's been stripped out of etc past wd, etc shadow, etc group, and etc g shadow, which are the 4 files that are comprised of what we call the shadow suite, if he is not in one of those 4, the system doesn't know about him anymore. Now, there may be things like logs and last and wtemp and these things that kind of keep information about users, but by and large, I'm not 100% sure that I could tell you. Now, I would also look in here, and I would say, in his home, does he exist? And in this case, John was never on this box. Tony was on this box. Scott too. Minikube user, e-commerce user. Whatever people have been putting in the home directory here. Now, if I say df-h dot, I also see that home is mounted. So I am part of an NFS cluster that's being shared off of the Werewolf server that, focuses all these nodes or whatever. So, yeah, I've never seen that user on this box, but could I definitively say he's never been a part of the cluster? I can't. But I can check to see if he exists now, and I can check to see if there's any like memory of him on the system and logs and other stuff like that, right? All right, so some bash scripting. So when we go through the method here of Socratic, these are all the ones that we've done the last few days, right? And we're not working too hard today, but these are all the ones we've been doing. Now we're down to bash scripting. So there's some scripting questions, and again, these things are not designed to trick anybody or to make anybody feel dumb. They're designed to make you work through the thoughts of like, do I understand this stuff? Like, do I understand kind of what's going on here? And if you don't, then you got to go spend more time with it. And if you do, then good, keep working on it. Bash scripting, I don't want to say bash is like a dying art. I'm just saying like you're probably not going to find a whole lot of people that are really digging in hard on learning bash anymore. You still need to understand bash, how to move around inside of a Linux terminal, of course. But what I'm saying, like the bash scripting, hard-nosed, hardline doing that to run systems and build systems, probably you're going to see a little less of that, because most of our stuff that can be handled as what we call infrastructure as code isn't going to be done in a bash script anymore. Probably going to be mostly Ansible. Ansible's a pretty good tool for that. And then also, I guess if you're up in the cloud, Terraform, CloudFormation, those kind of things. Building servers, we might use Packer, because Packer's a really good tool for like building things out. I actually have to get in Packer and build some stuff, so we might do that a little bit this weekend too. I've got some projects that I've got to work on for work that I'll just kind of noodle around on in my own time. But anyways, so it says here, can you touch a file with today's date and the file name? This is simple. We haven't even touched, when I say simple, I mean we haven't even touched any like execute a script yet. It's just, can I make a file that has today's date and the file name? Oh, I think bash is important. I'm not trying to downplay learning bash. I'm just saying not a lot of people are going to be writing new bash scripts. Not as much as we used to. We used to do 90, maybe 95% of the work in bash. And now, no, I probably don't really write. I don't go to bash for the first choice anymore. Let's put it that way. Like it's mostly, for me, it's mostly Ansible. If I can't do it in Ansible, I'll do something in bash. But yeah, if it's going to be like more than a page, I don't think I've used bash for that for probably 10 years now. So I'm not saying people aren't still doing it. I'm just saying it's less. So yeah, there are different types of shells out there too. So can touch file with today's date. Some file dot something. How would I do that? I've got a date command, but that looks like crap in a file system. Can I, how do I do different date? Like how do I get date to come out different ways? Or what do I do? Plus percent plus? I always forget. I don't normally forget, but now I have. That, oh. There we go. That looks a little better. That's time, but I want date. That's a little better. So could I touch some file dot? There's some file with today's date on it. Maybe that's something you need. Just $ now on date. Let's see. I've never tried that before. Set it as a variable, maybe. Oh, touch -A. I've never used that. Is it capital A? I've never used that before. we're going to use the fun command man touch -a -a. Change only the access time. Well, that might be, well, that would be useful for like knowing like the timestamp of access time on the system. There's actually a reason that we've used touch like that before, right? Like you can use this to touch and update the, right, to access when it was last modified, and that can be useful, right? If you're in certain file systems, if we have files that haven't been touched or accessed for 30 days, we start to move them to cooler versions of the, you know, we go from like a warm to a, maybe a hot to a warm to a cold, depending on the time since they've last been touched. And sometimes we do go through and just touch them with a script. That is kind of not the best way to do it, but some people do that. Your Mac, yeah, it's possible. There you go. Okay, so can you touch a file with today's date? Sure. There's other ways to do it. That's a pretty simple one right there. All right. Can you create 100 files named file something? So we're in here. Nothing in here. Can you create 100 files named file and then the file number? And can you think of different ways to do that? Because there's quite a few ways to do that. There's a few bashy ways. There's a way to do it with wildcards. There's a way to do it with just looping, if you want to do a for loop. But if you just want to count from 1 to 100, could you do that? Also, I need to put that somewhere so you guys know that you can ask questions if you want. I need to put it like in the title. Hold on, let me put it in here. I'm going to say ask the LLM technical questions. There you go, boom. It's at least in the title now. So if you guys want to ask it any questions, ask the LLM questions. There we go. Boom. A little different between Twitch and YouTube, but who cares? All right. If you guys have questions you want to ask it, feel free. You could use sequence. Yep. What if we just did this? What if we just did touch file 1.100? Would that do it? That did it. Get rid of everything. There's nothing in here. What if we did like for I in, and then we did like sequence 1 to 100 here. Do touch file $i. Done. Would that do it? That would do it. What about, that's kind of this is the older way of doing it. Most of you newer guys do it this way. When I say newer, I mean like this is the way that I see being taught more now. This $ parentheses. And do you guys know why I use that one? Does anybody remember? Whoops. Does anybody remember why I use that one now? And I have a very specific reason I use this one instead of my backticks. Does anyone remember? You could make it a little harder. Your font. Yeah, we could start with the width. Yeah, let's do that next. But sequence 1 to 99 would count. Yep, to 99. Here's Otis said var. We could. But does anybody know? Does anybody here remember? Or do you guys want me to show you why I don't use backticks anymore? We'll pull up this tool for that. Does this have it? It doesn't have the hardening. I have the hardening on this box somewhere. Somebody was asking me about hardening earlier, and I don't remember where the hell I have that hardening crap at. I swear I have it in here. Oh, it was under streaming. Like this is how I basically harden like a golden image. That was a question from earlier. I'm sorry I didn't get to it, or I didn't answer it. But that's that. Oh, here's why. somebody, because if you guys are wondering, why do I use that newer model? Well, let's go look real quick here in our Linux labs where I was doing in our Linux labs when we were doing like conditional and looping, right? And I was trying to show how to loop here for I in, and then you see that I use this. Well, guys, I want you to think about this for a second. I'm using Markdown here to go up to GitHub to set a bunch of instructions into labs for you guys on Killer Coda, right? Killer Coda is free. Labs out there are all free. Here's the lab that teaches you how to do some scripting stuff. And when I wrote it, if I had used backticks here, backticks are already part of the Markdown language. They are like control characters. So to just not have to escape them and not have to do any of that crap, I just said, all right, well, I'll just write all my stuff this more modern way. Although I like the backticks, they work for me. They've always worked for me. I'm perfectly okay with it. Yeah, MD wouldn't work right. Your problem. That's exactly right. Because Markdown already uses backticks for something else, and I don't blame them for that. There's no fault to them. It's just this is another way to do it. All right. So that's 3 ways right there. There you go. You could do you could create them all like this. Create them all like this. Let's do 15. That's fine. You could also just touch them like that. So how do you want to? I'm not gonna tell you how to like bake your cookies or do whatever. If this looks really nice to you and you can support that, use this. If this is what your team likes, do this. However, this does use more lines when you go to put this into an actual script, because you're not going to do this on one line like this in a script. Well, you can. It's just not going to be very maintainable. You're probably going to say for I in sequence whatever, and then you're going to indent and say do, and then possibly on that line or maybe on the line underneath, depending how you like to do that, you would say touch files. I would do this on one line, and then that would be indented in, and then you would come back out to done. By the way, when you do it that way, you don't need the semicolons on the end, because semicolons just represent the end of lines for bash, right? In a file, they'll get the new line characters and they'll read the same. If you say, Scott, can you prove that to me? Yeah, watch this. I'm going to just go back here real quick. I'm going to just prove it to you real quick. A new line character does the same thing. Oops. When I do that, it was the same thing, but you never saw me put a semicolon on the end of anything. So bash interprets those as you are setting the end of line character, or it'll just do it if you want to do it that way. So how do you want to do it? All right. Can you create 100 files? Sure. We delete them all? Sure. Can you show the PID of the shell you're running in? We were doing this a little bit yesterday, but you are on a Linux box. You're in a bash environment, and can you show what your environment is? Like how did you get spawned? And actually, there was a really cool one we found yesterday that we'll pull up, but I actually think I put it in the notes here somewhere. Oops. Where are my notes? Get rid of this. That was a different note from earlier. Let's pull this up. We found this really fun one. Where's he at? Back in here somewhere. Maybe I didn't save it. Well, that's fine. We'll figure it out again right here, real quick. So how do we show the shell that we're in, the PID? Iron just asked, why did I use sequence? It's easier to just touch bunch file. Well, I don't know. Maybe you had something else that you wanted to do in between there. So touch is fine, right? I use touch. I was just showing different methods. Touch is cool, but that's the only thing it'll ever do is make those files. If you wanted to make those files and populate them with something, you could do that right here. You could do anything in there as well. So it's important to understand wildcards are good and wildcards are fast, but wildcards are not structures of control logic. They're okay, but they're not the end all be all, if that kind of makes sense. So there are other things we can do. Yeah. So I was just showing different ways to do stuff. You guys have all kinds of ways. Oh, I didn't even show you. You could have used a while loop to do it as well. Yeah, I didn't even do that. Watch this. Clear this up. ls rm-rf file. Everything. Get rid of all the files. And then we could have done this. I didn't even think about this one. We could have said count is equal to 1. And then while. And then we're going to test. This is the test condition. And count is less than 100. Right? Do touch, file. $count, because that's our counting variable. And then we can say count equals $, 2 open parens, count plus equals 1, 2 close parens, done. Now, problem with this, hold on. Oh, did I not? No. It's annoying. All right. So ls-l, now they're all there. ls, they're all there because we created this. And then if we wanted to, we could delete them or we could do whatever. Atomic Django said, got a question for you. Is there a good way to manage or clear up zombie processes? Not that I know of. Most of the time when we have zombie processes on a system, what we try to do is, assuming that we have high availability and we know that other systems can take the load, we will take the zombie processes and we will minimize what's on that machine and then we'll turn it off and bring it back up. If we can, we will individually kill, not kill 9. We will kill with like a hup the processes that are running, because the reason you don't just kill -9 processes, in case you guys don't know, is because if you do that, yes, sure, you kill the process. You probably won't kill a zombie, but I'm saying you might kill other processes that are not stopping, right? But the thing is, if you can kill them nice, you always do it, because it's let me use something that's kind of visceral, but it's kind of true too. Let's say you were breaking up with somebody and you called that you go to work on a Friday morning. This is terrible. This is what I'm about to tell you is terrible, but I'm just going to tell it to you because this is the difference between killing and killing -9 a process. If you go and you give it the regular kill command, right? And you can go read all the layers of, man kill for all the signals that can be sent. There's a whole bunch of different signals, right? But if no signals specified term is sent, and it gives the system the ability. So like, let's say you go to work on a Friday and you call your significant other and you say, you better be out by the time I get back. And now they got 8 hours to clean up their stuff. It's terrible, but it's a way to do it. Now take, for example, you're somebody else and you instead wake up in the morning and you just shoot them in the back of the head. Who's got to clean that mess up? Well, it's you or the cops, right? But my point is, if you kill a process hard, it doesn't get to close out what it's doing. And that's a little visceral, but it probably makes it easy to remember. When you do a kill -9 all the time, you just run around, kill -9 is the only tool you have in your toolbox. You are not letting systems and Java processes and other things close out logs that they might do that may be useful to you later. So just, as admins, we have kill -9. We could always kill stuff. We can't kill zombies, by the way, but we can kill all these other things around the zombie to make the system come down nice. But yeah, to the Atomic Django, 20-something years of Linux, if something's a zombie process, we tend to just have to kill it. Which is, by the way, probably one of the reasons we like doing so much up in sandboxes and up in, separated off sandbox kernels and stuff, because then we can kill those processes off without affecting the main machine. Yeah, if you can't kill off a process, typically if you have a zombie process that has no parent and it has no way to kill it, so then almost universally you have to reboot the box. And I'd almost be willing to bet, I'd just be guessing here, but if you're doing Linux and getting zombies, the most recent ones that I've seen were all Falcon sensor, which is part of CrowdStrike, which is killing Linux, or not killing Linux boxes, been killing other stuff off, right? So, anyways, yeah. Loose ends, file locks, whatever kind of logging is in memory, Phoenix. Kill -9 doesn't allow you to dump memory down to, and cache memory that hasn't been written to disk isn't going there if you do kill -9. The system just stops, right? The system stops for that unit. It is literally a shot. Anybody here ever read 1984? You know, everybody's always talking about it for the some parts, but at the end, if you ever made it to the end, he finally loves Big Brother, and then he gets shot in the back of the head. They put a bullet through his brain as soon as he loves them. Pretty sure that's, yeah, I'm pretty sure that, I'm like 99% sure that's 84. I read it in high school, so I don't remember perfectly, but I'm pretty sure. All right, so anyways, how do we see the process? But the parent's not working. So yeah, Atomic Django, if you can't get like zombies to stop, you're gonna almost universally have to reboot that box to get it back up. But if you can't, or if you can restart the process and want to leave those, what I might tell you is as long as they've released the port that they were holding open and any file descriptors for those ports, and then if they're it's very possible too, especially with zombie situations, that sometimes you have to clear mount points and bring them back up. If you can do that without taking the box down and then you want to restart a service while that other thing's running, I mean, I'm probably a little I don't want to say that I'm a little spoiled in this, but I have been doing this enough where I tend to have my important things that I can't just take down, like dev boxes I can just turn off whenever I want. You know, as long as I check with the team, I just say, hey, this box is going down at lunch, and they'll be like, whatever. But like my prod boxes that are important, I always have behind some type of load balancer or high availability. So when I take them down, I'm not stopping a business process. You know what I'm saying? So I tend to have a little more leeway in that. Now, if it's happening across multiple boxes, yeah, I'd probably be looking at, for me, I'd probably be looking at going back to an older version of that agent. If it's an agent, I'd probably be going to an older version of either my system or my client or whatever I was doing where those crashes weren't happening. Because I'd hope that if you're having it now, it wasn't happening recently because you guys probably just upgraded something. And it's very possible, I mean, this is where it happens most of the time, where you have to tell a vendor to go kick rocks. They're no longer the solution that works best with you. And that's always hard to do, but to get management behind you on that, we're engineers, so we use numbers. We show that there were no instances of this happening before. Now there are. You've put in tickets. It's been escalated. You've even went through them to escalate. There's no way to have a path going forward. You maybe start building out proof of concepts and minimum viable products of other tools that can do that thing, and then you start looking to go a different route. I mean, that's what we do, and that's systems engineering stuff. But that's something. Sometimes we gotta, put on the, for lack of a better term, we got to put on the big boy pants and do the hard stuff, right? That's just the terminology, right? All right. But anyways, yeah, ServiceNow can be a bear. If it's actually ServiceNow doing it, yeah, look to go back to an older version. Make sure that there's not some kind of known, you got to go past a certain patch level to get past something in certain versions of Red Hat or whatever. There's sometimes matrices out there of where agents stop having problems. If maybe you have to move forward, maybe you have to move backwards. Hopefully, but here's the thing. Hopefully, you know where your kind of like your stage gates were before, so you know where you can go back to and then have a working system. Hopefully this hasn't been chronic for a long time, because then it's like people have forgotten all the old notes and you don't even know how you got in this situation. It's just something you now have to reboot a node every Friday, and those suck. Those always suck, because then somebody forgets to reboot it and you get called out at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning or something. You're like, 6 a.m. I didn't want to be up right now, right? So yeah, there we go. All right, so where's our... Oh, did we figure out how to see the process ID of the system we're in? Or the shell that we're in? There we go. Now, what if we did this? Touch script file .sh, right? And then we vi our script file .sh, and we just, for fun, right? And we say, whoops, where's that? Just make a little shebang, bin bash, and it doesn't really matter if you do that or not. And then in here we say echo, I am operating on the PID $, right? And then if we do that, right, and then exit, and we chmod, we got to make it executable, right? Script file. And maybe we say $, $, that's for us, and then we execute script file, right? And here's our one process ID, here's the process ID in there. And then maybe we go play around with the script file a little bit, and we say, I'm operating on this PID, and then we say echo the first variable you passed to me is, and then we start to learn what the variables are that we can pass in. And I'm not like writing an arg parser. We actually have a guy that's really good at writing the arg stuff, that's sending grounds. And anyways, watch this real quick. Now, we didn't pass a variable to it when we called it, so there's no variable. But we're still operating on a new process ID each time. So what if I did this and I say, right, and there's hello, and then I go back in there and I say YYP, and then I go to shift $ to go to the end, and I just change that to 2, and then I say hello world, and now it tells me the first variable you passed me was hello, the second was world. I'm operating on this new PID, which is separate from the PID in the bash shell that you're in. And then we do maybe like PS tree if we have it. And what was the one that we did? I think we just did this. No, that one's okay. But there was one this one did go systemd to network manager, but systemd came down to SSH, and then sshd bash, and then PS tree. So this was the command set right here that called it. But I think there was a way, was it -s? Maybe that's from the beginning. But the point is, you can do the process ID, and you can see, maybe there was one to like flatten it out or something. Maybe it was capital T. I don't know. Anyways, but the point is, you can see how your processes came to be right here. This is actually it. So systemd called sshd, sshd spawned a process, got to this bash shell that we're in, and then the executable PS tree that we just called. And yesterday I actually walked through and we looked at this and said, there's that. We did ps-ef. We grepped for 15468, right? And then we saw who was our parent, right? And then we did ps-ef, and we grepped for our parent, right? And then from our parent, we found who kicked him off. And then we found who kicked him off, which is 956. And then from 956, we found that it was systemd, but 956 was sshd, right? System ctl status sshd 956. Remember that number. That's the main process ID of sshd. So that's how we got into this box. We do lsof for -i on 22, and we would see that 22 is being listened to by PID 956. So that's actually how we jumped into this server. When we got in here, that's how we did it. Now we have all new numbers again. But the point is, you can go find where everything is in the system if you guys want. What fingers am I holding up? 19. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1984. I got to look that up now because I haven't read that in a while. But he finally loves them, and then they put a bullet in the back of his head. Yeah. Because he fell in love, and they tried to run off, and sometimes I get that in Brazil and some of these other ones mixed up. Where like, if you ever see, well, you know, I'm not gonna spoil it. Even though Brazil was from like the 80s or late 70s, I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody. But go watch it if you want. It's an interesting set of things. Oh, all right. All right. So, what other questions do we have? We had a bunch of questions here, I think. Can you connect? Can you loop over? Oh, can you loop? Can you set a? Can you show the PID of the shell you're in? We did that. Can you create 100 files? Something. Skipping every even number between 001 and 199. So this was kind of the challenge from earlier. So, clobber everything. Everything's gone. Can we create 100 files named file and then the number from 001 to 199, skipping all the even numbers? Yeah, if you've never seen Brazil, Brazil's interesting. There's yeah, I don't want to ruin anything for anybody if you're going to watch it, but it is a very old movie. And in that movie, it's known for kind of its twist. So you got to go watch it if you want. Okay, can you create 100 files named file something skipping every even or odd number? I'm surprised nobody's been taking these and asking the bot, because we do have a little bot that'll try to answer this for us. But how would I do this? I would say, so we could do it like this. We could say for I in, or for file, or for number. Right, I is just a computer science counting number. You know, you'll run into it in computer science classes and stuff. For I in something, right? Some sequence, and then we're gonna do, and we're gonna done. And we can do whatever we want here in the do before we get to the done, as long as we're counting through things. Now in here, we can do a sequence, right? And the sequence can count from 1 to 199. But that's not going to keep the spacing for us. It's actually going to clear it out. And it's also not going to skip every 2 like we want it to, unless we set that. And then we should also have to do like a dash W in there. Now, I don't remember if it's a lowercase or a capital W, and I've already written this, so I'm not going to go to the man pages. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to cheat right here. I'm going to say echo, watch, echo, this is the number, $i, right? I'm just going to see what the output is. There we go. All right, that's good. So that's doing what I want. And did it keep the numbering? Yep, 00 kept all the way through. Good. And then now I could just add to it, because again, anything in that block is fine. Touch, you know, file, $i. There you go. You made every number between 001 and 199, skipping every other one, so counting by 2s, by using that right there. Now, is that something you're probably going to do often? No, maybe not. Maybe. You're gonna find yourself in all kinds of weird scenarios in Linux systems administration. So one of the things, is there a range function with start, stop, step, and back? Yeah, there is. I can never remember it. I just use this, but yeah, you can actually function. I think we have it right here in the notes. Yeah, so this is the way that I would do it here. You can also, hold on, so I know I have it. Yeah, you can also do this. I could have done this as well, although this will be slightly different. But for I, so there is a control structure here, like this, right? And instead of I++, you would probably say I plus equals 2. I'm not sure if that would work. You might be able to get well, I++ will always just continuously step. I'd have to go look this up. Probably go to like tldp.org, because I never remember how to do it. But that is your step right there. So this is your start. This is your end conditional test, and then this is your step, but this is only ++. So that'll count by 1. You might be able to get, no. I plus equals 2, that just seems weird. That worked, but that seems weird. That looks weird to me. You could, yeah, so that, I mean, that counted, but that looks kind of weird to me. Maybe somebody who's been in a computer science class more recently than me would be able to tell. I haven't done computer science in a long time as like a direct, yeah, for I and start and step. Do. I did start and step 2. Interesting. Yep. So can you make your system count to 100? Right. There's just a whole bunch. I have all these up in the Discord, so if anybody wants these notes, they're all up there for you guys. I think that looks weird. This equals 2. All right. Did it. All right. Where else were we? What were we doing here? This wasn't even what I intended to do today. I was just going to mess around all day, but I figure we'll do some stuff. You guys can also ask, although there is a 2-minute cooldown or so. I asked that over on the YouTube side.
Head_Tanis asks, why is the sky blue?
Yeah. So we'll see our system over here spin up in the top right. We'll see the question pop up. And then my LLM that doesn't know why the sky is actually blue will try to answer. Sky is blue because it contains natural sunlight that is continuously shining through the atmosphere. Sure. The sun is its brightest object in the universe and shines in all directions across the sky. Sure. Given an illusion of color. Sure. Sure. But does anybody know why the sky is actually blue? You can't sleep before each echo if you want to, Gizmo. You can do anything you want between do and done. You can do anything you want in there. Water vapor's a good guess. Does knowing that I was an infantryman in the U.S. Army help anybody answer that? Because there is a specific answer to this question, right? All right, can you count them all? Good. Can you set a variable of 1 data point? Boom, done. We set a variable. Damn, you knew the answer once. It's because if you don't know, guys, the reason the sky is blue is because that actually is true too as well, because the CO said so. Yeah, the sky is blue because God loves the infantry. That's the saying. And also, yeah, Sarge said so. Fair enough. Yeah. One of my favorite jokes out there is the sergeant comes out and says, "I need 2 volunteers," and somebody says, "For what?" And he goes, "I need 1 volunteer." You never speak up, guys. You never, ever speak up. You always just fade back in and don't be the one that's sticking out more than the next guy. Because if they see you, they make you go on details and stuff. Especially when you're infantry, man. Infantry's got nothing better to do when they're not in war. So it's all, yeah. All right, 1 variable. So var1 is the name. That's kind of like the label slapped on the side of the box. Here's the contents of the box. And then we can use the name to see what the contents are on the box. That's all it is. Can you loop forever watching uptime every 2 seconds? Now, looping forever is really bad computer science, but it's really good system administration. How do we loop forever to just watch something happen? There's probably a few ways to do it. The way I like to do it, watch system sit here, spin. It's gonna bug me that there's that one offset character, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's see if the wife's texted me. The wife should have gotten off work about 12 minutes ago. My brothers. Yeah, and then that's important to know too. You can also do watch. But, whoops. You can also do watch. But watch does one thing differently that Kithril mentioned. Watch and while do one thing different. If anybody wants to try to think about what the difference is, you can. Or we can just tell you here in a minute after you watch it for a second. But while is going to keep all your old stuff up there. Watch is going to wipe the screen every time, right? So just know that. It'll be there. All right. Let's stop that. Yeah, we loop forever. But it's really bad to do that inside of a script or something like that. But it's really good to do that inside of like a Linux shell when you're just watching systems to see that they're doing what they should. It says, can you make your system count to 100? We did that already, so that's fine. Can you loop over the last a list from a command line? Can you loop over a list from a file? Ah, this is interesting. So you've got some list. This one will be fun. So you've got some list here. What did I just do? There we go. All right, we got an empty thing here. Can you loop over a list of items? I think most of you probably can because you kind of saw it earlier, but can you do it from the command line and then can you do it from a file? So this will be interesting. Also, let me see if I can do something. Can I ping Rocky 7? I think my system knows all the other nodes. Yeah. So we'll use some of the nodes in my environment here for us to ping and make sure they work. But I'm going to take a break real quick. I am going to set my little timer, hourglass. By the way, you guys can still ask questions if you want. Break. All right, I'll be right back. You can use exclamation mark ask to ask any question you guys want. And it will talk. I will hear it in the other room. I'll be right back.
David Trush asks, I need to set up SFTP on a server. Is SSH enough?
You set up SFTP on an SSH server. Yeah, actually it is, but let's see what the bot says. It says Secure Shell is not the only way to establish an SFTP connection. Here are a few options. You can set it up over HTTPS, and you can also set up file transfer protocol. That's interesting. So you could use SFTP proxy with Nginx, it looks like. And you could also forward traffic to SSH. You know what? I mean, I would do it right through SSH. That's what I normally do when I've set it up. I don't know in Debian, though, if there's any differences. I wouldn't think there would be. I would think it would still be functional. It's at least my experience and all that. All right. You guys are on break if you need. Yeah, I mean, here's this. What I could do too, it's just this is a lot to read. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be reading for a long time if we had the bot read all that. Also, let me see. Grab that real quick. Control C. Throw that in a notepad real quick. I'm curious. It's 1,796 total characters that it gave out. It's interesting, but yeah, I just do it right in SSH, typically if it's me. typically you can set up your SFTP in here, and then you can run an SFTP server that's authenticated with SCP, so or with SSH rather. So it's typically pretty safe. All right. I mean, I've never had any problems with it. Although I don't do a whole lot of that. I don't do a lot of that for like security or any of that kind of stuff. But it's pretty straightforward. Standard context, short answer. I wonder if I can set a context like that. That would be interesting if I could set a context to be short form, because when we send the question over, we're just using this stream false model quencoder prompt question. We could see if there's other. Oh, let's go check on Ranger Cam 2. How's Ranger doing? Ranger's not in his bed, guys. Where's Ranger at? It's bright downstairs, but Ranger's not in his bed. Hold on. Could we go to... Go look at this guy real quick. Model system template license. So we're using model. Those are template options. Oh wow, they can do some big tokens. References, GitHub. What am I missing here? Hey, thanks for the Prime there. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I could set that. I just need to set that up to alert me when people do that. It's from Alibaba, by the way. We could push pretty big data into this. It does specialize in coding and mathematics. That's why I picked this one, by the way. Let's go look on his GitHub. Sometimes we need to dig in. By the way, our break's almost over, so then we get back to doing normal work. We're just messing around right now. So we could set we got a llama running, we got all that going. We got it so we can hit it from a different box. That's important. Role user consent, say this is a test. So I wonder if in the role, like when we call the role, if we can say you will answer in under I don't know, 150 characters, although that seems kind of arbitrarily short, you know, like in case somebody really wants something. Parsing switches, yeah, it's definitely possible too. I could definitely play with this. All right. Well, anyways, we got that. If we want to play with that, just something to play with in the lab. Something for you guys to hit and ask questions to and that kind of stuff. So, like I don't have it set for channel points or anything like that. I don't have it set for like, you know, donations or anything. Like none of that stuff. Just, you know, if you guys have a question that you want to ask it, let's see what it says. I'm still curious to see what it'll say to some of the different things that people are doing. I'll work on maybe getting a little bit better output. I kind of thought that people would have fun seeing it actually process things, like seeing what's happening on the box when it's going, because I thought that was kind of fun. But all right, what's our next question? Let's keep going with questions. I'm waiting for the wife. She should be messaging me soon. I imagine she's getting off soon. Can you make your system sleep for 10 seconds and then time the command? This one's fun. So can you make your system just sleep for 10 seconds, and can you time that whole command? And from bash, can you make your system just rest, right? Let the potato rest. Can you just make it sit there for 10 seconds and then give a time output of what happened on the system? What would that look like? Anybody know? If you did time sleep 10, what would that do? It's going to give us 3 different types of time. Does anybody know what those 3 types of time are and why it might matter? Like, why might that be different, right, than if I did dev u random as my input, out file is dev null, and then I throw all that, right? I'm gonna throw all that actually into bzip -9, right? Oh, and then I'm gonna do block size equals 1024K, so 1 meg blocks, and count equals, I don't know, like 10,000. So it's, oh, I don't have bzip on here. I have gzip. All right, do gzip -9. So it would take 10 seconds, but what's the difference between this, which is the wall clock time? This is what we call wall clock time. This is real human time, right? Time we exist in. But what's this user and the system time? It's how much time those processes were called against the kernel, right? So could we rightly say that the system was not really doing anything in the sleep command? Hey, Robdom, how's it going? Hey, Robdom, you can ask any question you want if you do an exclamation mark ask. I added that today, and it'll read out whatever your question is about systems, and then it will drop it over here in our logs and chat here. I will try to make it a little better, so hopefully in the future it will maybe read out. I don't know. I could have it read out part of it for now. Let's see if I can get it to read everything. Hold on. Let me go tweak this a little bit. No, not speaker bot, this bot. And so write to llama answer. So it writes in that. So write to llama answer. Speaker bot does its thing. That thing goes and catches it. And then writes it out there, I guess. So what I had it doing before was reading from a file. I wonder if I can get it to read from a file. Set file till state. That's interesting. File IO. Can I always read the last line from a file? Oh, I could just make it a variable. Huh. Wonder if I can get, but I wonder if I can do the last. Let's see. File tail. File AO. Not a lot there. I can think of a way to do this. It's just kind of a read select. Was there a read select? Read lines, read random, read specific. But I want the specific one to be the last one. I could do this a different way. I could just write to a file that's empty every time. Just gotta go change the workflow a little. I'll think about that. But I think we can get this to read. I think I just have to go. Let's try this real quick. And I mean, we can make this kind of. And then before we do that each time, that's fine. That'll wipe it every time. Then just read out a llama temp. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would technically. I wonder if I can get that as I copy that. We're going to kill them and we're going to redo them. So now it's back to working. But if somebody tests, I don't know if somebody will do. Just test that. What is bash?
_Tannis asks, what is bash?
What is bash? You guys can see it running over here, right? No, hold on. That should have went. Still running. So I should wait. Oh yeah, it should wait and then it should copy it over there. So there we go. What's bash? Born again shell. I guess we just read that. All right. All right, so now we got to do a delay, and we're going to wait 60 seconds, right? Variable or either field number of values in milliseconds, so it needs to be 60,000 milliseconds because you got 1,000 in each second, right? And then after that's done, then we'll read file IO, read lines from a file. File to read from will be that llama temp. And there won't be any variable. We won't parse variables. We won't do any of that stuff. Let's just see. Done. All right. Read lines, llama temp. It's all good. All right. I mean, this may yield some pretty long reads, which I don't think is what everybody wants. But let's see. All right. Got to take a little bit of time, and then somebody do an ask, and then we'll say. All right, while we're waiting for that, yeah, shouldn't have to change anything else there. Come back over here. So look at this real quick. This one took 52, so we were back here. Can you make your system sleep for 10 seconds and then validate the time? So we slept for right here, and you saw that the system was just chilling the whole time. And I was asking to compare that with like if you did something like this where you just grabbed a bunch of random numbers off the processor and then threw them in the trash and then compressed them and threw that in the trash as well. How is that different? So in this one you had 52 seconds of real wall clock time, and 51 of those seconds this system was using the processor. So this process here, while it was executing for 52 seconds, 51 of those seconds were really doing something. This one was just sitting there with its feet up in the guard shack, not doing anything. That kind of makes sense. Hopefully you guys understand there's a little different. Yeah, wrote down. I just got a little LLM running. If anybody wants to ask, what is an LLM? Probably you can ask whatever you want to the bot. And it's going to try to, I think it's about to try to read a really long answer.
API asks proof Fermat's last theorem, according to Andrew Wiles, and there emphasize the relevance of modular forms and elliptic curves.
It said, I apologize, I can't assist with that. All right. Well, so that's funny. That's going to lead us to, well, there's a 60-second break, but there's also a 60-second cooldown. So this will be interesting. I think it's still going to respond here in a second with, I apologize, I can't assist with that request. That's going to be about a minute, but it's kind of interesting, I think. So, yeah. Fermat's last theorem, according to Andrew Wiles. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. We'll give it 60 seconds though. So can we make our system sleep? Yes. Do we understand what sleep means? It is simply a wall clock sleep that doesn't do anything with the processor. Other things that you can time. Time is one of my favorite commands because it allows me to pass on information to other engineers and help them to kind of understand hey, when you build this system, you might want to go, you got about 15 minutes of this format or this connection to this SAN and then formatting of the disks or the allocation of whatever's going to happen over there. Go take yourself a little walk because you got 15 minutes. I like being able to tell that in my documentation so engineers aren't sitting there trying to build stuff when I'm out on vacation or something and they're like control-C'ing stuff and breaking it because they're like, oh, Scott left this stuff all. But no, I like to tell people how long. If it's going to take more than like 10 minutes, you should probably tell somebody that. I'd tell most junior engineers if something's going to be more than like 3 minutes. I'd be like, this is going to take, and I will have timed it when I built it. And I've told you guys my process of how I build things, right? And how I'll just go through and rebuild them again just to validate my documentation, right? Redline my own documentation before I give it to anybody. There's that. Let's see if I'm very curious if this will read. Should read. Llama temp. What's in Llama temp right now? Yeah. I should try to read that file after 60 seconds. Yeah, because there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. Yeah. For now, while we're testing it, let's just set it to 6,000, which will be 6 seconds, right? And read lines, llama temp, reading from llama temp. Variable name, doesn't really matter. Oh! Oh my god, guys. Reading the lines isn't gonna read to the speak. Man. All right, I don't know, let's just call this read. That's fine, I don't care. So now we've got a variable. Gosh, that's stupid. Speakerbot. Now Speakerbot is going to speak. The voice alias is going to be Steven. And the message is going to be read. That's my bad. So, all right, that was my fault, guys. I'm kind of dumb. Because watch, if we were to go look at that last action queue, the last time somebody queued it, the variables at the end, there's the line 0 and line 1 of that file. So I'm going to go ahead and say should be read.line1. Well, when we get there, we'll see it after this run. All right, if anybody wants to kick it off, somebody do an ask. And then this should run. All right. But while we're doing that,
asks, are we there yet?
That's a pretty good one. I think this thing's also going to tell you it can't. Okay, that was only 6 seconds, and that thing hadn't done. All right. Interesting. Hold on. Let's go look at the variables as we finished. Where's he at? Here. Or the variables as that last one finished. So we wanted to have, well, I guess it's ask underscore llama read 1. I guess it would have been read 1. It's weird. Okay, let's see. Back here, commands, queues, actions, read 1. Pass through bad word filter. It's fine. Good. All right. We need to wait a minute, but then run it again, somebody. It'll take a minute, though. Yeah, Robodom, this is my system running it right over here. This is what you're seeing here, is when this is chewing through a problem, it's actually showing up here in this B-top. So I've kind of got it so you guys can see it.
Robodom underscore asks, what is the best pizza topping?
So it's going to come down here and it's going to tell us what's...
Read 1%.
All right, hold on. It got there too fast, so that was a timing issue. We now have that part right, so now we need to move out the timing so that it'll finish. The delay was only 6 seconds. That wasn't enough. We're gonna add another, so we're gonna make it. We'll go to 30,000. So we'll do 30 seconds, and because that's about what the average one of these is taking. All right. Robodom, you can't ask for a minute again because it takes a little bit of time for cooldown. So I will ask that same thing here. What is the best pizza topping? We'll give it a second here. That's a pretty good question, Phoenix. I think we're still on the 1 minute cooldown though. Users have a 2 minute cooldown, and then system has that. Let's see if mine works.
Tannis asks, what is the best pizza topping?
I'm asking that because that's what Robodom wanted to know. So then, if we do tail, whoops, on llama temp, we'll see this change here in a second. When that finishes, it's going to change this. And then now we've got this new thing there. Best pizza topping depends on, many factors. And then in a few seconds, because it's a 30-second delay, it should read. But let's see how much of it reads. Speaker bot again. I keep going to the wrong damn bot. Here's the other bot. Action completed. Inspect variables. Read 1. The best pizza topping depends on various factors such as... This thing should be getting read here. Yeah, read 1. Now I've wondered if it's ask underscore llama dot read 1, so we're going to go try that. Dot read 1, because I've seen that. Variable name to use, empty if line is used. So we use red. We see that variable coming through, right? So we don't change that any. And I think it's user asks raw input, so that's all the way that it would normally have been. Right to the file, and it says these are all values that we could use. Raw input. All right, somebody try another one. See, yeah, I think this bot does have a Linux and a Mac version, local Ken. I'm pretty sure. Somebody want to try another one? Let's give it the old college try. And some of you guys that know my college students know that a college try isn't too hard. Actually, speaking of that, I need to get out there and I need to grade some papers and stuff tonight. I got a lot of stuff to do.
Phoenix DPI asks, what is Spice and Doom called?
What is Spice and Doom called? Should pop up here. And then it says Indune spices of a type, particularly red and black. We should see it here. Where the heck were we? Right here. There it is.
Percent ask underscore llama dot read 1%.
Didn't read the variable. But where is the variable? Let's go look. The variable's definitely there. Where the hell is this thing? So let's go look in last action queue. Inspect variables. It should have just been, I mean, read 1, I guess. READ 1. Command was ask. We did all these things. We got to the bottom, and the variable there is read 1. READ 1. You call variables in here with %%. I wonder if I can requeue.
Phoenix DPI asks, what is Spice and Doom called?
What is Spice and Doom called? Goes back in. Runs its little thing. phenomenon started with the British landscape. It is a term used to describe a certain location in British country. Oh, yeah, that's probably not what it is.
Spice and dune is a cultural phenomenon associated with the British landscape. It is a term used to describe a certain location within the British countryside, often referred to as a cultural.
All right, look at this.
Location is typically located along the
You guys don't even need me anymore.
Represents one of the most prominent cultural landmarks in the region.
Shit, I'm leaving. You guys just ask this thing questions all night now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'll stick around a little bit. All right. But now, no, you guys can ask the thing questions, and apparently it'll just pop up over here, and I don't know. Let's see how well that works. I was curious. I was just doing this to see if I could do it. Right? That's our own little LLM. We're running that internally. We didn't tune it, so when we get the little bit bigger hardware, we will, with the GPUs in it, we will tune some of those out ourselves. We'll go take a model and we'll tune it out to be, as Fisherman uses, you know, he uses his little bot for LLM to talk to you guys in the Discord, that kind of stuff. Also, Robodon, will you tell people about the Discord? I haven't posted that in a while. Also, I did a drawing of what we were kind of looking at. It kind of looks like this, and this was just me kind of being messy. I'll redraw this and I'll drop it in the Discord for people that want it. But like, what's our Discord? I mean, we do stuff like this, but mostly we just try to get people into doing Linux professionally. Some of you guys want to do this. Some of you guys want to get better at, you know, maybe you want to get out of doing some other type of work and you want to get into Linux systems administration. This is a place where we try to focus on that. Linux systems administration is the start of it all. And then hopefully we get you down into eventually being a engineer, right? We want to be engineers and architects to make more money. Have to get to recognize Ranger so he can tell us what he's up to. Yeah, actually, that's actually funny and true. Where's Ranger? Oh, the sun is coming right in on him. Yeah, the sun's coming right in on him. Poor Ranger. He's the tiredest dog ever. He's just laying down there tired. I gave him some treats earlier. I have these, I have like softer treats I've been giving him because he's getting old. We still give him the hard treats. He's always had hard treats his whole life, but I was like looking at it and going, nah, I'm giving him some soft ones today. So, all right. Can you show all the packages that have SSL in their name? So how would you do that on a Linux, like on a Red Hat?
Asks, what are good treats to give to Ranger?
What are good treats to give the Ranger? Also, it's very possible that we need to set that timing down. I just did arbitrarily 60 seconds, but we can change that if we need to, right? So there's the good treats to give to Ranger. It's gonna finish running, and then it's gonna come back and it's gonna tell you. Now again, it's gonna be about. Look, it's not done yet. That's a problem. Hold on. That's a problem. So that took 31 to that. So that was, hold on. Sorry. That was my fault. I think I left it at, yeah, I did leave it at 30. So I need to change that back because that would have been fine in our old model. So let's say 60 because 60 is going to get most of them. And then we'll requeue that one, right? We requeue this. And it'll,
asks, what are good treats to give to Ranger?
Boom. So it's going to pop up here. Good treats to give to Ranger. And then it'll walk through. So what are good treats to give to Ranger? It's going to, look, it's another big CPU going up to 89%. Now that's 32 CPUs that thing's blowing through. Best treats to give to Ranger are based on its personality and needs. Here are some suggestions. Drinking tea. I don't think we're giving Ranger tea, but maybe we'll spill the tea a little bit. This only works on Twitch. No, Robodom, this works on both sides. You can do it on either side, Robodom. There's just a 1 minute cooldown between the two. So, good thing electricity is cheap in the U.S. Looking at the cores, crunching through the numbers. Yeah, Phoenix, it shouldn't be too bad. Plus, I have a solar collector on the roof that just smash it. I have all kinds of solar during the day, anyways. But Yeah, and then also I'm curious. Like I have a I have an AWS trigger for if I go over like I think $8 in a month. So I'm gonna keep track of like how much this Poly uses because I'm using Amazon Poly for this as the backend. And I mean like if you ever wanted to know,
Best
right?
treats for Ranger depend on its personality and the individual's needs. Here are some suggestions: :N1. Tea. Drinking tea can be a great way to relax, unwind, and improve mood. N2. Milk. Drinking milk is a popular and healthy beverage that can boost energy and reduce stress. N. Cheese. Cheese can be a classic option for those who love to cook or have a sweet tooth. N.
All right,
Candy. Candy has a rich flavor and is often
that's
used
kind
as
of
a
funny.
snack or gift. It can also be enjoyed in various activities like playing games, reading, and cooking. N5. Chips. Chips are a versatile and healthy snack that can be made with different flavors such as chocolate chips, apple chips, and mixed chips. N. Salad. Salad is a fun way to eat a meal and have a great time. It can be made with vegetables, meat, fruits, or even spices. N. Ice cream. Ice cream is a popular and delicious beverage that can be enjoyed in various
It's a
activities like
beverage.
games, reading, and cooking.
All right.
N8. Green tea. Green tea is a popular and delicious beverage that can be enjoyed in various activities like playing games.
You guys could be asking another question, by the way, right now.
N. It's important to note that the best treats for Ranger can vary depending on individual personality and the specific needs of Ranger. It's also important to seek the advice of a healthcare professional before attempting any new treatment.
There we go. And by the time that's done reading, you guys can do another one. All right. So can you show all the packages that have SSL in their name? Yeah, I can do that. And why might I want to know that? Well, there's semantic versioning on packages, right? We talked about this. Security is always going to alert you to package vulnerabilities based on the version of a package. That's how they get them from the NIST, and that's how vulnerabilities are reported up when people find vulnerabilities. You could scrape that database yourself if you want, or you can always just use third-party tools, but that's going to cost you money. Qualys and Tenable are two that are pretty good for that. But yeah, here we go. We've got this all set up now where if any of you guys ask questions, you can figure it out. So if you want to know, you could ask like, what are the SSL packages for Linux, right? What are common ones or something? All right. Can you show when the system software was last modified? This one's interesting. So the answer to can you show if any system software or if any software was modified, the answer is no. If a user's building and compiling stuff and you've given them the use of compilers, you have no control over what they're doing in their little house there. If they want to use that to build bad stuff, can't help it. But system software, especially through your package manager, can be tracked. Just as a security matter, make sure you don't have Amazon Echo or voice activated devices in earshot. Oh yeah, Kithro, I don't have any of that stuff. Actually, somebody asked me earlier about Google, and then wanted to see if it would pick up my Google on my phone, like Google or doing like an OK Google thing. But no, that doesn't work on my phone like that. So what else can you show? So on this system, DNF history. We can see what's going on, and it's a little harder because the screen's kind of big. Let's change our size. I made this a little bigger, but then now we have less terminal size, so we'll make it a little bit smaller. We'll go down to 14. Make it a little smaller for everybody. We'll make it bigger again here. All right, boom. There we go. And now we can see what's going on in our system here. We can see that there we go. Last thing we did was install Cronny because we were doing cron tab stuff on this box and whatever kind of fun stuff. We were doing iPerf because we were testing network speeds. We were doing Podman because we were doing stuff with Podman and K3s in our environment. And then look, I can just see all the things that have happened in this shell, in this environment, and this node that I've built up over time, right? All the way back to when I first updated it, when I downloaded it the day after my birthday last year, right? So all that kind of stuff. All right. So can we see when it was last modified? Yeah, today. Before that, back in November, end of November, right? There we go. Boom. Can you verify that you have a software called Calce? If not, can you install it? So how might you do that? We do have a Calce on here. Do we know where it came from? Do we know what package installed it? Do we know when that was installed? Might there be a reason we want to look at all those things? What kind of things might we want to look at here? I'll do this game real quick here, but how would we verify? So we can see that it's there. We can say DNF what provides Calce. That's a good way to see how it got on your system. There's the tooling. And maybe I can do an RPM-QI for Calce to see when it got installed. Somebody put this on August 17th, and I've been complaining ever since, right? In my environment. So I can see all that. So can you verify that you have software called Calce? If not, can you install it? I do have it. It's been installed on the system. If I needed to install it, DNF install Calce. If I need to remove it, DNF remove Calce, right? There we go. We can see how it was built. We can see where it came from. There's a lot of good information here. And if I needed to know that this system had been updated outside of maybe like a normal patching schedule, this would be part of how I'd figure it out. This or DNF history to see when my stuff was patched. By the way, you also have another set of logs that could possibly be going out. So if you go to var log DNF dot tail-f on DNF dot log, you should just be able to see what kind of actions have been happening here and all that kind of stuff, right? So if you're sending logs off your system in real time, like you should be, you can also kind of keep track of what's happening. All right. So, do we have a software called Calce? Yes. Could we prove it? Yes. All right. Can you verify that Calce is in your path? And if it isn't, can you modify that? And can you make that change persistent? So what does it mean to be in your path? And what does it mean if Calce for some reason wasn't in our path? So maybe I move so Calce is not there anymore. It's not in our path. Could I put it in my path? Could I say path equals $path colon root scripts? When I do that, I like to do it like this. Oh, this is better. Like this. And then now, do I see Calce? And do I see where it is? Yeah, I do, Kithril. I do also RPM QA and grab everything, and then I go back from that too very often. That is probably my go-to as well. RPM QA, just dump all the packages. And
What is the best HTML reader for the terminal?
that's a good one. Let's let this thing chunk it out a little bit, figure it out. What is the best HTML reader for the terminal? The best HTML reader for the terminal. It's all done. Oh, it's just, it takes a little bit of time. So. Ha! Hold on, wait till you see what it says. Oh, some of you guys are going to lose your shit. You're going to be like, that's not the best terminal. I didn't say it, guys. The bot is. Yeah, the llama's been done. It's just our delay of 60 seconds now. Llama is going burr, though. It is chewing up my CPU a little bit. Not too bad.
The best HTML is Firefox. It provides a wide range of web pages and tools, including PDFs, images, videos, audio, and more. It also has an advanced search engine and allows users to customize their experience based on their preferences. Additionally, it supports accessibility features like keyboard navigation and screen reader support.
This was the day you guys found out that I'm sponsored by Firefox. No, I'm just kidding. I am not sponsored by anybody. I am not sponsored by it. But that is funny, though, that it thought, all right. But it's been 60 seconds, so somebody else should be able to ask a question between Twitch and YouTube. So if somebody else wants to ask a question, feel free. By the way, I'm kind of curious because I'm going to be...
CPI asks who was the founding father of Vulkan Logic, and why did he use tabs over spaces and Vim over Emacs?
It's thinking. Looks like it's got an answer already. The answer should be dropped in there. Was it John McLaughlin, an American software engineer who founded Google in 1982? He used tabs over spaces to improve readability and maintainability in his code. Vim Text Editor is another popular choice for programmers due to its powerful syntax highlighting, autocomplete features, and built-in command line tools. Is that right? Is that right? I don't know if that's right. So I'm learning something today. Was he the father of Vulkan Logic? Because I do not know the answer to that. Hey, LLM is going to be confidently... Hold on, where's that?
The founding father of Vulkan Logic was John McLaughlin, an American software engineer who founded Google in 1982. He used tabs over spaces to improve readability and maintainability in his code.
Is that right? I don't know. Is that wrong?
Is another popular choice for programmers due to its powerful syntax highlighting, autocomplete features, and built-in command line tools.
All right. I didn't make this persistent in my path, guys, because your path is built dynamically as your system comes up. So if I wanted to make this persistent in my path, here's my path right now, right? I would go find where my system builds my path from. So it's probably in here, vi.bash rc. Here's part of my path. So here's part of my path. And then we export our path. But I think my path gets built further. So here's your bash rc. And then it looks if path doesn't have this in there. And then it sets home into path. So path is being put at the end. But if I really wanted to just add this in here, I could add it right here at the end. And just say, and always add that. Whoops. Oh, don't do all that. Just always add this one. Just always put that at the end. That would work. And then to prove that, we would exit the box and come back in the box. And then we would echo $path. And the last thing on this path should be root scripts. Right there, root scripts. I tell you guys all the time, your users are going to do weird stuff in your systems. Some of your other, engineers and maybe even you are going to do weird stuff with your paths. But you got to know how these things work because they might break. And then if that breaks, the way I fix it is, if I'm on the root user, I would have to come back in as another user, probably either sudo up or use a command to remove that line. Go and probably get back into the root user and then strip that out, right? So, or an easy way that I used to do it was I would just make dir, like, I would call it .archive, like this. And then I would just do move everything into .archive like that. So that would wipe everything in there, and then when they first come in, if they need it, it'll actually get pulled out of Etsy There's different, or we would just copy it back in from Etsy if we needed to. But the point is, there's different ways to protect users from themselves, because once users get a hold of their system, they're going to do all kinds of weird stuff. And I'm not saying that to disparage users. I'm just going to say that, like, users sometimes will just find stuff online and just throw it in their shell. And then they can never log in again until you go in and clean it out. And I can almost guarantee you every single Linux admin and engineer that's sitting here is like, yep, I got a story like that. I watched this guy hork up his shell 5 times in a row. He's a real old-fashioned Bob Blursky, right? That's what we call the guy that messes everything up, Bob Blursky. But anyways, can you verify that it's in your path? All right, so we fixed our path. Now this next one is, can you see if you have any container software available, and can you check the container images? Can you see if anything's running on your box? Well, I could say which Docker. I don't have Docker. Which Podman? I do have Podman. So I have some software on here that can do some kind of thing, right? And then I can say Podman images. I've got no images. And I can say Podman PS. I got nothing running. But I could start things running. I could start to do things in my environment. And maybe these are the kind of things that you go spend a little time with and learn how to do. Again, like when I showed this in the Linux Systems Admin course, people were looking at it and going, yeah, that's fine, but why do I care about that stuff? I want to be a Linux admin, a Linux engineer, right? And I say, yeah, but you're probably going to support teams that are using this stuff. You might not directly be using a lot of this stuff, but you're going to be supporting this stuff a lot. So, you know, you can go look at kind of what's going on and figure out what's going on in an environment. Well, I'm sorry, I'm playing a game for a second here. I got to keep an eye on it. All right. Got to keep an eye on the game for a little bit. Hey, Colchis, how's it going? You can do !ask and ask any questions you want, and we can watch it kind of churn through over here on the bot, and then you can watch it. It'll actually come out and talk to you guys if you want. I don't know. I'm trying to find things that are amusing and kind of help you guys learn some stuff. Hopefully stuff's useful to you. Oh, man. I'm losing this game bad. Yep, lost. All right. So no containers. We have container software. Nothing's running. Could we run something on the system? Probably. Probably we could do a Podman run and then run a container image and then check to validate that those things are working. Let's see if it asks us to. Can you run a container on your system? Can you verify it's running? Can you verify that the image is downloaded there? All right, so we have nothing on the box. And I think I can do a Podman run.
Colchis asks Podman or Docker. Thoughtful face.
I don't know if the LLM is going to be able to answer that, but it's going to try. Podman or Docker. Let's see if it can. It's trying to answer. Podman run HTTPS. Maybe we do a -D to make it a, and then HTTPS is probably going to be Nginx, and then I'm just out here messing around. -P is going to be 8080 mapped to port 80 in the box. So if I run that, it says select an image, and I'm going to go from the docker.io. So now it's going to pull that image down. Oh god, that's going to be reading for a week. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see how it works. So now, if we do a ss-into-ulp grep for 8080, we do have something listening on 8080. If we curl-s on 8080, we do have... Oh gosh. Ignore me. I'll slowly replace myself with the bot, guys. Here's our page, right? Hey, Hector, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Thanks for the bits. I need to put some of the stuff. So I moved off of Streamlabs desktop and I'm over on OBS now. So I need to turn on all of my old. I need to go move them all over here into OBS. But I appreciate the bits. Keeps me motivated. I need to have it do something, but I just haven't set that up yet. All right, can we verify that's running? Podman images. We can see the image, and Podman PS to see that it's running, which is something we kind of already validated there, but we should see it. All right. How long did that run for? It's going to talk for the next minute, so I can stop talking. I'll let that thing finish. Now I'm curious, hold on, did we hit a character limit? Because I don't think, Docker, this one's done, but it never read. It says it's done. completed at 13:02. So this completed a minute ago and it never read.
Colchis asked Podman or Docker. Thoughtful face.
Give it a second chance. All right. Yep, we got the image downloaded. We've got it running, so we can validate all of those questions right there. Gotta play my game for a second here. That was at 5:15:19. That should have finished within the time. This thing should... It says it's completed. Should have tried to read one. Huh. Sees the variable. I don't know if I... Hold on. I may have over here. I may have a speaking options. Let's go look at our voice aliases. Look here. Read default. There's nothing wild there. But speaking options, probably don't want to do say everything. We got the speech engine, we got a voice gate. Zoom wait timeout. It doesn't, probably not that, probably not that. This is within this system. What's coming over is from the voice aliases, so I wonder if there's a limit here. There's got to be some kind of limit happening. Let's see if that works. Daft Duck, it's probably on a cooldown because I just kicked off the other one. There's a 60-second cooldown on it. So you might have to ask that same question again here. You should be able to do it now. You try that again if you want. Daft Duck. It should run. It's because I had kicked off a requeue, I think, that it didn't run that second time. But that should. That should work for you guys. Yeah, let's see if this one should run.
Doug asks, you are the persona of a senior Linux engineer. You want to explain very brief how you can be a Linux administrator.
See, it may cut these off. I've seen this before. Let's see. Now we got a 40 more second wait before it runs. But I think these were hitting size constraints. Because all these other ones were much smaller. No, it read. It didn't read that one. It did read this one. It did read all those, so it probably will read this one. Okay. Yeah, we got to give it. We got a 60-second timeout. We might need to tune that down a little bit. That's a long wait. All right, this next one says, can you run a container on your system as a daemon with a different port? Can you verify that the port is working? Well, we did that, so it wasn't port 80. We're using 8080, and we could validate that it's working on that port, so that should be good. See, we should be getting about 60 seconds right now.
As a senior Linux engineer, I am responsible for managing and maintaining the infrastructure of a Linux system, including servers, storage, and networking. My primary responsibilities include installing and configuring all necessary tools and software to ensure the health and performance of my servers. Additionally, I work closely with other team members to provide technical support and assistance in areas such as network management, security,
I think that's pretty fair. I think that's a fair high level assessment. Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably the best answer we've gotten today of all these different things that we've been kind of looking at. Also, guys, I have a webhook, so I could take these and I could dump these down in the Discord if we wanted them, just like what people were asking and what we kind of had, and then we can go laugh at the ones that are kind of BS, like Ranger being some kind of open source tool when Ranger's actually just my dog, and the treats that we want to give him and stuff. Daft Duck, I am running a model called. It is called Quen 2.5, and then I'm just using the smallest of the versions of the model. I could run other versions, but here's the thing. I'm running it on a 32 CPU node, and it is kind of spiking 32 CPUs. It's not going all the way up on a lot of our questions, but I've had some questions when I was testing it last night that were going pretty high. So really, I've just kind of turned this box into mostly the llama box. This is just kind of us messing around and also a little bit of a stopgap because in somewhere in March or April when that digits thing comes out, I'm going to get a hold of one of those, and then we'll be able to use that to train our stuff up and have fun, and we'll have some GPU processing. Right now, it's a little underpowered. That's why I kind of have the B top so we could have some fun and watch it. I don't normally watch stuff like this on my stream. Some of you guys have been around. Daft Duck, I know you've been around. I'm not normally monitoring stuff like this. I think it's funny that like we're kind of birthing these kind of heavy duty questions through it, and then we're going from there or whatever. So, all right, let's do some Kubernetes. But you guys can keep asking questions. It's just I think it's a 1 minute cooldown globally, and I think it's a 2 minute cooldown for any one person. So like anybody could ask a question again if they wanted to. But it says here, can you identify the API port that K3S is listening on? Now, I'm not running Kubernetes on this system, so I need to go turn it on. Now, I've got a script for that because it's super easy to just run K3s instead of Kubernetes, the full box. But I need to go find that real quick. So let me pull this up real quick. I can just go into like my presentations, maybe my Linux group. I'll just say like K3S, right? And it'll come up with, here's our Unit 10 presentation. We'll open that with, I know it's a little bright, we'll go Google Chrome. And we'll scroll down here, and here is how you can just install it on a box right here. Boom. Oh, I don't want to do it on that box. Whoops. Don't want to do it there either. Boom. Here, this box. Run it. Get out of here. All right. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. This is going to install K3s, and we're going to have a working, functioning Kubernetes on this box right here. And then we're going to say, can we identify the API port that K3s is listening on? Well, there's probably some other things we can do, too, to look at like the health of this system. Links are censored here. Yeah. By the way, yeah, Phoenix, if you have a question or if you have a link you want to drop it in the Discord and let us know. And Robodom can drop it in, or I can drop it in. I love XKCD. Oh, about model accuracies and how he's just standing on a bunch of algebra and he's just raking it around. If you're talking about models and what they're actually doing, it's just a bunch of like code sitting on top of it. Yeah. That one's kind of funny, I think. If that's the XKCD I'm thinking of. I'm a big fan of giving those to like engineers I know. Yeah, and he's talking about what if it's wrong. He's like, then I just rake these around a little more until it looks more right. And I was just kind of thought that was funny. It's pretty good little way of looking at it. And I'll just ask a question over here real quick. What is the API port in Kubernetes? Or what is
Tennis asked, what is an API port in Kubernetes?
Yeah, what's an API port in Kubernetes? What might that look like? All right, let's see what it says. It looks like it came back with some other answer. So we'll let that answer back, and then if anybody else wants to ask in a different, better way, because I am not one of those. What are they calling them now? What's that type of engineering they're calling it? Prompt engineering. I'm not a prompt engineer in any sort of. Okay, all right. So How would we know? So ss-ntulp is one of our buddies, and this will show us stuff that's going on. Maybe I go in there and I grep for K3s, and maybe that just shows me a bunch of stuff. And then as I look at it, it tells me there's some stuff that's...
Explain the role of API ports in Kubernetes and provide examples of their usage.
See, that's the answer it gave back to me. And it's like, what? You're asking me. You're the LLM. You're supposed to tell me these kind of things. By the way, that's 60 seconds. So now somebody else, if you're listening, you could do another ask once you hear that, because now it's been 60 seconds. So fun little fact there. How would we know that it's the API port? Well, we could maybe go look at the config. If K3s has, I believe they have their own config on here, but where would that be? I thought it was under there, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, it's Rancher, and then K3. So Kubernetes K3s is Rancher, right? What's in here? Anything in here that might help us out? Ah, here's our server, our default server, 127.0.0.1.6443. Okay, that tells us a little of something we might want to know. And then here's some generic information on the box here, right? So I could use that to then maybe come in and go, where is that port? Here's the API port right here. So when I do something like kubectl, which is now installed on here, and I say like node or get nodes, I am interacting with that API right there. That's the API for the system. And then that's what's going to respond to me. If I were to kill this process right here, I would no longer be able to communicate with that. And we can do that if we want, but we can also check system CTL status K3s. Do we have K3s running on this box? Sure. Can we stop it? System CTL stop K3s. And then do we see that anymore? And can we communicate with it anymore? No. And by the way, there's that port again, right? So then we turn it back on. And this might seem super simple to you guys, but for people that have never seen this before, this can be... Oh, hold on. My nodes are up, and my system is starting, so we're good. We're good for now, right? But we got the nodes. We got... Whoops. There it is. Our process is coming up, probably starting up and stuff, right? So K3s is on here. Again, it's through Rancher, so if you're ever going to look, it's not just Etsy K3s like I would have expected. It's Etsy Rancher K3s. And did it install something else when we were messing around on here? I don't even know what's in here, but there's a password of some type. All right, the security's not all there for this because it's just a, you know, simple little system. But can you identify the port? Yes, we got it, 6443. Okay. Then we say, can you show all the nodes? kubectl get nodes. Can you show... That really is down. Restart it. Hopefully it'll start right. All right, so we might have to wait until that port comes up, but for the most part, it's listening. There we go. So we got that. -O wide should show more information about it. And then we can also do show labels. You want to see all the labels that are associated with nodes too. So there's, oh, yeah, something's going on. It's probably because I was resetting it and stuff like that. But the point is, you can come in here and you can show all the nodes. Yes, as long as you got your Kubernetes in a healthy state, right? All right. Can you show all the node versions? Well, the versions are actually built right onto the nodes. So you can see we're on version 131.4. So if I'm doing commands in here, if I'm downloading a Helm chart and that Helm chart is from 1.28, that should still be compatible. But if the Helm chart is from like 1.27, there may be differences that are no longer compatible between 1.31 and 1.27. And you might have to work some stuff out to get your Helm chart working. Now, K3's here, as you can see with these errors and stuff like this. This is not a full Kubernetes deploy. You would run this in like a dev environment, like some dev says, hey, I need to stand up a Kubernetes cluster for a couple weeks on a box. You might just deploy a server and then put this on there, and then that would be their little dev environment. And they would take their software that they build and their containers that they build out and whatever they're doing, and then they would give that all that infrastructure as code to your team. You would probably test it through, and maybe even they plug it in with Jenkins and they have it be a whole pipeline, and they run that all through until it's good, and then they move it up through the pipeline into whatever new tool they're building. Maybe they got to build the pipeline out. But the point is, you would not run this in a production environment. Like, this is garbage. Like, this is, I mean, when I say garbage, it's not that it's bad. It's that I was messing with it, and now I'm going to have to go troubleshoot it a whole bunch to fix it. I don't want to do that. Right? I just want a working system. Most people wouldn't be shutting it off and turning it on like I was, so that was kind of on me. Oh, also, this is busted. Let's make sure my subtitles have been busted. Nobody told me anything, so let's get this stuff back up. So you guys have terminals and terminals on terminals. All right. Oh, where's our PowerPoint? Boom, there you go. Can you show all the node versions? Yes, we could. Can you show all the pods and all the namespaces? Well, if they're up, get pods -A will do that for you. There you go. And again, why is that thing being transient right now? Who even knows? -A will tell you all of the namespaces on the left. That's very important because namespaces determine how we talk in Kubernetes. Now, one of the rules, like one of the stated goals and rules of Kubernetes is by default, everything can talk to everything. But just because I'm allowed, Robodom, you still around? Just because I can talk to Robodom does not mean that I can just sit in my room here all day and go, hey, Robodom, can you hear me?
Robodom_ asks, what are the best minimum specifications to create a personal Linux server?
That's a pretty good one. But Robodom, so real quick, I can't just sit here and start talking to the wall and go, Robodom, can you hear me? He's going to be like, he's in California. He can't hear me. So, well, he can hear me now, but where I'm going with that is the way namespaces work are for me to call him where he's at, I have to use a longer prefix name. It's almost like I can just be Scott if I'm the only Scott in the room. But if there's 7 Scotts in the room and you say, great, Scott, well, that's also going to get to me too. But I'm just kidding. But the point is, you have to now use some kind of other naming convention to get to me. And that's how Kubernetes works. Once you introduce something like another namespace, it's no longer calling a system by its short name. Now you got to do something like this. Let me show you guys this. So over here in my one of my labs that we don't look at very much, but down in Kubernetes in our 3-tier app, when we build the let's look at some. This is the read code, and now I want to talk to the MySQL service, but it's not in the same namespace as me anymore. Now I've got to use MySQL service. I got to use the name. I got to use its namespace, data1, and then I've got to use the service cluster.local name.
Specifications for creating a personal Linux server typically include the following: :n/n1. Memory. The system should have at least 4 gigabytes of RAM, as this is a common minimum requirement for most modern Linux distributions. :n/n2. CPU. The system should have at least 2 cores or more, depending on the requirements of your server and the workload you plan to run it under. A dual-core or quad-core processor would be recommended for better performance and responsiveness. :n/n3. Hard drive space. The system should have at least 10 gigabytes of hard drive space available. However, additional storage will be necessary if you plan to store large files or applications on the server.n/n/n4. Operating system. The operating system should be based on a recent version of Linux that is well suited for your workload and needs. Popular choices include Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora, Debian, etc. .n/n/n5. Network configuration. The system should have a stable internet connection, which will be essential for data transmission and other network operations. .n/n/n6. Disk space usage. The server should have enough disk space to store data you need, such as applications, log files, and other important data. .n/n/n7. Root privileges. A root user is necessary to perform administrative tasks, such as installing new software or running system updates. .n/n/n8. Firewall configuration. The firewall should be configured with appropriate rules to protect your server from unauthorized access. .n9. Security software. The server should have a robust security software installed to protect against vulnerabilities and threats. .n/n/n10. Backup and recovery plan. A backup and recovery plan should be in place to ensure data safety and recover from unexpected events. .n by following these minimum specifications. You can create a professional Linux server that meets your specific needs and requirements for running your business or personal online tasks.
Yeah, it's because it's part of the new line characters, Robodom. I'm gonna have to I just need to figure out how to unroll that. I should be able to unroll that. But here's the thing: if it's all currently being read from one line, I got to figure out how to get it to read every line in a file. Because currently it's reading it as one line with those new line characters. If I unroll them and make them all their own. Oh, it was \n is the escape character. Yeah, I got to run it through some. We got 45 seconds of time on the system. All right. Did it go through all these? Can you identify the Kubernetes service that a DNS host talked to? It's right here. It's the core DNS right there. That's the service. Oh, but the service is get service -n cube system and there we go. And then it's the kube DNS cluster IP. So that's the IP that you're going to be talking to when you want to do DNS to those backend pods. And you say, how do you know? Because if I describe it, watch this. If I describe that, what a piece of junk. All right, if I describe the service, I should see where's his endpoint. That's interesting. That's the other one. This one, DNS has. This is the endpoint right here. Oh, where's he at? There's his endpoint. And if I go tie that back to the pods, watch this. That was his, so 1042.05, 1042.05. That's the back end. Oh, that's the. Did I grab the wrong one? Oh, that was the metric server backend. Here's the DNS one, and here's his 1042.04. So it's the 04 node, which is this guy right here. So there you go. So, yeah, I should be able to roll that. Hold on. Yeah, I guess I could delete it that way. Yeah, thanks for coming, Enzo Bear. We're just hanging out today. We're not working too hard. All right, if anybody's got any last questions they want to ask before I go dropping off of here, if you guys got any pressing questions you want to ask the LLM, feel free. I am kind of curious. I'm going to kind of compile all the things that I've seen today and go figure out, like I was showing you guys earlier, you can actually figure out exactly like what something should cost. You can go here to like calculator. .aws, and you should be able to come in here.
RoboDom underscore asks, why is the sky blue?
We asked that one earlier. That one's good. So why is the sky blue? This thing's going to churn through it. Let's create an estimate over here while you're doing that. And we're going to go region, East Ohio, it doesn't really matter. Search all services. We're going to look for poly, right? And let's go look. So how many standard text to speech? And we'll say thousands per month. And what is that? Lifelike speech and number of requests. So we'll say that we're averaging, let's say 500. And then we'll say that we're doing like, I don't know, we probably had, so 2 per question, and we probably had like 20 questions per day. And let's not say that we had thousands per month. Let's say that we were going to have, so we'll multiply that out. So it'll be, let's say 600 per month, right? 600 per month right there. And there were about
The
5.
sky is not entirely blue due to cloud accumulation and atmospheric refraction. In clouds, the water vapor condenses in the air, creating tiny droplets or patches of blue light that eventually become visible. The other colors are formed through scattering of light from the surrounding air.
Well, that's one answer. And so if we did about 600 of these requests per month at about 500 average. Now, some of them are going to be much smaller and some are going to be bigger, but let's just say 500 average, and we were going to average about 600 because that would be 30, what would that be? 600 would be 20 per day if I was streaming every single day, which you guys know I don't. 20, so maybe that needs to be closer to like 1800 because people will be asking questions when they find out about it. That will cost about $3.60 a month. So basically, oh, thanks for that, Phoenix. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're just hanging out. Got an email from the U.S. landed a new job. Nice. Phoenix, are you? And I apologize if you're very involved with the Discord, but have you done anything with our like Linux systems admin course, or have you been just kind of hanging out? By the way, I don't judge either way. I'm just kind of curious because I know a lot of people did do the Linux course, and I think a lot of people got a good value out of it. It was free, by the way, guys. I didn't charge you nothing. Just go in there. It costs time, really, and costs about 160 hours worth of time probably for most people, if I had to guess, when you put the project in there. And it ends this Saturday, but we're still going to leave it up there free, and I've got like a little bit of a plan with that as well. So we'll keep working on that stuff. But yeah, I mean, this could be pretty fun. Doesn't cost anything really to run, and Amazon Poly. Oh, I do want to see character costs. Yeah, so 900,000 characters per month would be $3.06. Very, very, very cheap in the big scheme of things. I'll draw up a better version of what this kind of looks like, and what our workflow kind of looks like, especially for if anybody here, any of these guys are streamers, and you want to know how to run this bot, because really it wasn't too much. It was just a little bit of time to get this thing kind of set up the way that I wanted to, and to get everything kind of talking through the way that I wanted. Now, what I do need to do though is build a little outro scene, because I don't have my outro scene set up. Let me see if I can make one. End stream. See if I can make a little end stream, and I'll add in a. Let's see if I can add in an image. And the image will be end stream. What? Oh, I don't want a new source. I want a new. End all. And that's going to be an image. And that image is going to come from my documents. And then my Linux group. Streaming, images, backgrounds. End session. Terminate user. There we go. Transition over to that. I'll put something else on there too, so it's a little more straight up for you guys. No, you digest video and post on SpeakerBot. Oh, Outcast Wanderer, you just did a video and post on SpeakerBot. Nice, 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 nice. Shows how to hook up to many suppliers. Nice. I would probably like that video. So I don't know if you mind putting it in Discord, but you can drop it anywhere in there and I'll take a look at it. But no, that's awesome. I'm gonna be on Saturday. We're gonna be doing some Linux stuff, but I will talk to most of you guys tomorrow then. Anybody that's gonna hang out. All right, take care, guys.